Greetings, Clobberers. Good to see you all here with us tonight on something of a somber occasion, but we're going to try to celebrate a little bit of a good buddy as well. Thank you to and welcome you. Welcome you to Clobberin Times Monday Night Marxie Comics Talk, and that title has been the name of this comics show for about a year now, right out of a year now. You all know why. And I just want to thank you for being here with us this evening. We have a good buddy here. My great buddy Loki is with me, and thanks to him always for those great openings he's made for me. And other friends on the way, we hope. So, Loki, thanks for being here with me, bro.
No, thank you for the invite, brother. Seriously.
Good to see you.
It's never easy. Talking about any of this is never easy. It's never an easy thing to do. And
no.
It's why your friends stand with you. That's why your friends back you up, support you, and that's why we're here today.
Absolutely. And I'll shout everyone out here really quickly because I know that he would appreciate you all being here tonight. He was here whenever he could be. Back in the old days when I was doing just my own thing. Of course, he did a lot of shows with me. We're going to talk a lot about our good buddy tonight, the great Mark Stephen Chure. But hello from all of you out there, the Comic Relief Crusader. Welcome. Good buddy, D-Bud Martin, Mexican Iron Man, who is out there. So, dude, get in here when you can anyway. I understand if you're busy, but please come hang with us, man. The great Chris Berger, the master of the Canadian wrench. Great to see you, brother. Phantom Outsider, good to see you, buddy. Hungry Boy, or as he's tonight, he's going by the nom de plume, Hungry for the Devil Girl from Mars to be my Venus. Man, he's always got these complicated names, and I love it. But he's Hungry Boy to us, a great friend of the show, and a bit, of course, former comics pro in his own right. And Hungry Boy, I know you didn't get a chance to know Mark, but you loved him, and you guys would have had a lot to talk about because he loved comic books and comic book art, and he was, of course, a great artist in his own right. Let's see here. Kal-El Buddy, a great super pal. Good to see you. One of the super friends, a Superman of his own, in his own right as well. Let me see here. Andy Masterson.
I just resent Mexican Iron Man the link.
Okay. Oh, good. Okay, good. Absolutely. Andy Masterson, good to see you there, brother. The great Steve Mitchum, a good friend and a lifelong friend. Good to see you, man. A wonderful friend of real life friend of the family and Mark himself, Lisa P. Lisa. It is wonderful to see you here, my dear, beautiful lady. It does my heart good to see you out here with us tonight, paying tribute to Mark. So, as you and so many called him here, Stephen, and he is his great Marxie persona here on YouTube's. So, thank you so much. Your Muslim uncle, good to see you, my friend. Thank you for being here. Pleasant Valley Picker. Well, it's good to see you anyway. Thank you for popping in, Pleasant Valley. Just Joe, good to see you there, Jobber, my old brother. Never got the link. I did send the link there, man, but okay. Pat S., what's up, buddy? It's good to see you, Pat S.
I resent it.
Okay, thanks.
The one you sent me, so.
Okay, good. Sorry about that, but I checked and saw it go through on Twitter, but you know how that is. Sorry about that, Mike. I could have sworn you got it, man. Of course, I'll have to double check it. But anyway, if you got it to him, he should have it. So let's see here. Who else? Double C. Thank you for popping in. Well, it's good to see you, man. Thank you for your kind words. Appreciate that. Yeah, Pat S. LSU, Clobberin Times. Yeah, I believe Mark was a bit of an LSU fan, was he not? Was he not, Lisa? Well, he was from here. He had to be. Yeah. He was also actually a Steelers fan because he was also from there. But he was a Saints fan, too. He's all over the place. Oh, man. So, anyway, there's some hellos there for tonight. Well, yes, he was an LSU fan. There you go. His sister, Elisa, so great to see you there, my dear. Thank you for popping in. It's good to see you. And we have with us someone who loved Mark as well, who was a good fan, a good friend of his, and a fan of his in a way, because we're all a fan of his. He was such a great guy. Mark D was just amazing. Mexican Iron Man. Mike, as you can see, I'm not having a good time speaking tonight. I'm just kind of all over the place because I'm filled with some sadness, even though it's been a year. What's up, buddy?
How's my mic working? Can you hear me?
There you go.
All right. Well, that's why we're here. It was a year ago that I mean, we held each other up, right?
Yes.
And then we had to hold up Doomcock.
Yes. I hope his link went through. I've sent him a link. He said he was going to be here, but if not, fine. But
I'm not getting DMs today on Twitter. So, in fact,
Weird.
even Loki, when he said he sent it to me, it showed up on my phone, but didn't show up on my PC.
Wow.
I know Twitter's been acting up.
I've been having that problem since last week.
I'll resend him that invite, and maybe but he didn't answer back. He would have told me that it didn't show up. It does look funny sometimes when you send it through. It doesn't go all the way through. So I hope we can make it. But I sent it.
Like right
I sent
now,
it again.
I'm clicking on Loki's. It says Loki sent me a link 3 minutes ago, but when I go into the message, the last time I got one from him was last Tuesday. Really weird.
On your computer, it's doing that?
On the computer.
Yes, yeah. It's doing the same thing with me. I can't even pull up history on conversations on my computer, but on my phone it'll load just fine.
Same thing with me too. So D,
gotcha.
And D's phone flipped. I talked to him earlier, or was it last night or this morning? He had a 3G phone, so he doesn't have a cell phone right now. His service got cut because of the system.
That's happened to a few people I've heard about. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I got you.
I'm trying to copy that. I'll copy the link and I'll send it to his Twitter, but I don't know if he'll get it.
I got you. Well, I resent it to his Twitter as well. If he makes it,
did? Okay.
Yeah, I hope he does. But we all understand, and because he
has it been a year already, Mark?
Been a year. He's been a year. And DC loved Mark. He mentioned he talked about it a little bit last night.
Yeah, he did
on the show. So yeah, we all did, and I just that's the thing that gets you. That obviously when it first happens, there's nothing quite like that. But then a year goes by, and you don't. I guess you think you've processed it, then you hit that year mark, and you're like, "There's no way." I mean, it all kind of comes. I mean, obviously, and again, I can't. That's just from coming from friends. It's so different for family. Of course, we've all lost family, and how the family processes it and deals with it is probably very different. But one of the things that happened a year ago, Mike and Loki, was when I found out about this, and because of certain circumstances with Mark's phone, his friends found out a little bit late via social media, his Facebook page, and some mutual friends put the word out there. That night that I announced it to friends, on Twitter that knew him as Marxie, YouTubers and people who frequented the chat of many YouTube channels, it was shot. I didn't expect the reaction that I got because I just thought that he was somebody I knew that came on my show a lot, and yes, I knew he liked to go to a lot of channels and send super chats and correspond with people and a little bit here and there. I had no idea the impact he had, and when you have the kind of impact that he did. And it's none of it's physical. It's all coming from your mind and your words, and you're able to create so many relationships and so many friendships with so many people like that. It's not easy because it's not like he was doing a show other than when he did it with me. It's not like he's DC or Gary or somewhere or Loki, like he's doing a show where people glom onto you that way. People people sort of gravitate toward you like that. It was him just in chats with people, creating relationships with people because of just how special he was at doing that, how he was with communicating with people. And he loved geekness. He loved his geek stuff, comics and science fiction and Star Trek and things like that. And he touched so many people. I had no idea until that weekend how many people knew.
I don't think, even though you and I had known each other, I don't think, if I remember things correctly, I don't think you had any idea how much I knew Mark.
No, I did not. I did not know any of them.
Because I don't think we ever. I mean, we didn't have the time to really talk about it. But when I found out, I think I remember us talking, and you were like, you knew him. I'm like, what do you? Oh my god, yeah. And I mean, beyond him being on the show with you, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, I don't know where we're going to start tonight or how we do this. Well, I really don't know.
You Clobby, you said he had a real way with people, and that is something that not just this community, but a lot of there's a lot of great people involved in this. And one of the biggest surprises that I've experienced is someone that I only knew in chat, someone that I had never talked to. They'd never seen one of my shows. All they knew me from was me sending messages in chat. That's all they ever knew me from. And when I was introduced to this person, which is Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers, I was introduced to Stone Loki, and he said, "Is that Stone _ Loki?" And that's because he's the only one who ever called me that. We've got so many wonderful people, not just content creators and people in chat, but so many people, so many wonderful people that are a part of this community that we have affected. We have affected their lives. We have affected their experiences. Mark did that.
And Mark it's how he did it. It's how he did it that is astonishing to me. Because, by the way, his sister, hello there, Marxie's sister, his other sister, both of his sisters are here, said, we didn't realize either. I remember one evening him leaving my house after dinner saying, I've got a YouTube thing. I had no idea what he meant. Well, here's the thing about that from what you were talking about Loki. Loki, it's one thing because you have, of course, a wonderful channel and a wonderful following and a gigantic fellowship of people. You accrued that over over a period of time. And of course, our buddy Doomcock, whether it's Gary, whomever, whatever the size of your channel, you do that because people are constantly hearing you talk or watching you do videos or what have you, right? And that's how people get to know you. I mean, that's the general way. This is somebody who, other than he would come on with me sometimes, and I'm a nothing channel, and nobody knows who I am, especially back then. And he would come on with me. We were just two buddies hanging out, talking about stuff. But before he ever did that, all these people on all these channels, whether they were the audience, the chat, or the master of the channel themselves, like Gary and Doomcock and Az and all these people, they knew who he was. He created a persona because he never went on a show before he went on mine. That's what he told me. So he did it without ever speaking, everyone knowing his voice. He did it with his fingers and his mind in chats. And of course, also sometimes, talking to people through Twitter and things like that. That's what's really remarkable if you think about it.
Yeah.
Well, and maybe this is now a good time for me to jump in.
You pardon the pun.
But I mean, Mark had a massive, I've said this before on a couple different shows, and I would say talked about this very often, but there's a few, what I call, they're the giants to me that, and I don't have a big YouTube channel, right? I may down to whatever, 700-800 subs, and I never post content because for me, being on YouTube is about supporting and being a fan of the YouTubers that are great creators. I don't ever really want it to feel like it's a job for me. Now, Dave Baugh was a huge influence on me. Certainly, we lost Admiral. Yeah, I mean, he was a huge influence on me. And then Marxie, I want to talk about specifically what was his influence on me. And a lot of who I am on YouTube is fueled by him. And I'm going to be real specific and map it out because I've been thinking about him for like a few weeks now, like for the last whole month, Wow. And here's how he impacted me. When I first saw him, there were two things about him that influenced me. One was that when he would go into a chat, he wasn't like fighting for the attention of whoever was hosting the channel.
No.
He was going in and adding value to the conversation of the people in the chat. And I remember, and people who know me think I'm very extroverted, but in real life, an IRL, and Loki can tell you this because we've been together in Dallas, I'm quite likely to just sit down and be quiet by myself, smoke a cigar by myself, be in my room by myself. I mean, there's a lot of me that's as extroverted as I may come off. I'm very much an introvert. That's my default. And I was lurking on YouTube for a long, long, long time. But there was this guy. Of course, we know he's our beloved Steven. But his online ID was Marxie. and he would talk to me, and he would keep talking to me, and he talked to me even before I changed my name to Mexican Iron Man, because before that on YouTube I was Mike the Mogul. The whole Mexican Iron Man thing came from Doomcock later when I did that project for him, but Mark was talking to everybody, and I found it fascinating because I'm like, and he wasn't a wrench either, Clobby, like on all these channels.
No, he's
Like,
not. No, he wasn't.
like it's not like it was a situation where he's like, and this is, I don't mean to put down anybody who is a wrench at different channels, but when you're a wrench at different channels, that's just something, there's different ways to wrench. Some people moderate, but he was never a wrench, but he was an amazing host, if you will. He knew the channel, he knew what the topics were, he knew who the creator was, and he would have that conversation. And he made me he brought me out of my shell, literally, because I was a lurker. I mean, now I'm not a lurker. Now I just kind of go in there and boom, Mexican Airman says a super chat or a member chat or whatever. But I wasn't always that way, and I saw Mark do that, and it's funny because it to me, it was fascinating because what I learned, the first thing that I learned from him is to not worry about clout, not worry about whether you have your own YouTube channel. Worry, if you're going to do anything, add value to the conversation. And because there's a lot of people, what I learned from Marxie, what he was able to do is he took people that never had even $1 to super chat, and there's still many, many people don't even have $1 to super chat at all. Yeah. And I would see Mark, if he didn't always, if he had money to super chat, he super chat. Sometimes he did or didn't, and sometimes he would see a conversation happening, and he would spend his own money to super chat that in so that the host could read it, because maybe the person who's having the conversation or the 2 or 3 people that are talking about something weren't super chatting or couldn't super chat. And I know he saw that, and he took his own money out of his pocket and threw that in so that if there's 1,000 people watching or whatever, now that host is now reading that, and what is Mark doing? What Steven would do is he would make people feel included in the conversation, so that their lack of financial resources didn't make them not feel noticed or not feel important.
Absolutely. Wow, I've never heard you put it like that.
Okay, and so that was I found that profoundly interesting to watch him do that, and I didn't see anyone else doing that. And the second thing I learned from him, and this I did talk to him about, which was that I got into the YouTube from Comicsgate. Okay, I came in as a Comicsgater, and then I was a war campaigner, and all the other stuff came later. The Star Wars, the Star Trek, the fandom stuff, Echo Base, all that stuff came later. I was already in YouTube and Comicsgate, and when the schism started breaking, which they started early on. I mean, now there's been some more celebrated breakups online in terms of creators. But I would see that Marxie, Steven, I would see that Steven would jump, and I'm just going to call him mostly Steven today. I mean, because I want to make sure people know that, his real name. See, I knew his real name, but that's only because he and I would talk, and I'll tell you the story of what happened before he passed in a minute. But he taught me that it was okay to jump from stream to stream, and that you could be a lot of different people's fan. You didn't just have to be a comics guy. You could, because he bounced around a lot. And nowadays, there's a lot of us that bounce around a lot. But back then, it really wasn't that way. 3 years ago, you kind of were like, you're either this person or that person or this. You kind of followed one YouTuber or 2 YouTubers, and that's it. There wasn't all this bouncing around type of thing. And I looked at him and I said, wow, this is a guy, because I always had a variety of interests. And I'm like, okay, so this is a guy who gets along with everybody all the time.
Yep.
And I would see him sometimes in chats. People would try to start stuff in chat streams, like in Doomcock stream. Certainly, I think it would be in Gary's stream. Sometimes people would start stuff, or so and so said this. What does so and so think? And Steven, God bless him, was always a moderating, positive, energetic force of nature. And he would chill out streams. He would chill out conflict. He would engage with people so that it didn't rise to the level of blowing up, antagonizing or blowing up the chat or antagonizing the host. And I learned that from him too. And as I reflect back on my YouTube relationships, so much of who I am is because of Steven. I mean,
Wow.
now, I mean, I don't know how people describe me. I really don't, and I don't care. I'm not here for clout, but I do know I support a lot of channels. I do know I try to get along, and how whatever people, and I'm going to say this to the people watching the show and the family, whatever is people's positive vibe of Mexican Iron Man, and my name's Mike. Most of it has come from Mark. Most of it came from Steven, because Steven set an example for this introverted guy to come out of my shell and be that same kind of a cheerleader, because Steven was always a cheerleader. And when but the other thing too with Steven is he was so smart. He was so smart.
Oh yeah.
God, he was so intelligent. He would say, he's a lot like right now a lot like a Dega Outlaw, where Steven would say a whole lot with a few words. And then of course he's a black belt in terms of his knowledge of comics, and I still look affectionately. I look back on things like these days. People say, "Hey, Mexican Iron Man, can you book this person for my show?" Or, "Hey, can you do this?" And and I don't really ask very many people for very many things, but as Loki knows, no one ever tells me no. Aside from Loki, generally nobody tells me no. So if I hit someone up and say, "Hey, I need you on this show," or, "Hey, almost always people be like, "Oh, of course, Mexican Iron," because I never asked. I remember me and Loki had this idea to do the comic roundtable on a Tuesday night, and I've told this story maybe once or twice before. And I hit up Steven, right? And I asked him, I'm like, "Hey, we're putting together this comic roundtable on the Tuesday night." He's like, "Okay, and who's going to be on it?" And I'm like, "Well, me and Loki are going to do it, and we're inviting Clobby, and I have all these ideas." And I probably sounded a lot like you remember that Warner Brothers cartoon where there's a little puppy going, "Spike, Spike, Spike." And that's how I was probably dancing around him, because I had already heard him on the show and stuff. I know he knows his shit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is what he says to me. He says, and this is why it was a big deal for me. And the reason why I'm telling this part of the story is because I want you to understand that up until this ask, right? I'm going to ask Steven to be in the comic book roundtable, right? I said, this is the ask moment, right? But up until then, he has no idea, because I never got a chance to tell him. And Steven, if you're listening to tonight, buddy, if your soul is with us tonight, hear me what I'm about to say. It's because I never got a chance to tell him what a huge impact he was on me in terms of my YouTube identity.
None of us did, man.
Because my entire and Club, you know him really well. Can you understand and see, like, from what I'm saying, like how he influenced me? Like, how I am now. You knew him then. Do you see the connection? Like,
well, absolutely.
It makes sense. So I go and I ask him, "Steven, will you do this with me?" He says, he says, "That sounds like a really good idea. Wow, that sounds like an amazing idea. Definitely keep me posted on how that goes." I was like, "Okay, yeah. And so I walked away from the conversation thinking, wait a minute. He didn't say yes. He also didn't say no, but he didn't say yes. I think he just patted me on the head and said, "Okay, little Mexican comic boy, you just run along now. You just,
I don't know."
And he didn't want to hurt my feelings, but he told me no. But he told me no in such a gracious way, and I loved him for it. And I love and Steven, I thank you. I'm looking up at the sky right now, and hopefully you're looking down on us. I thank you for pulling me out of the shell, so that when opportunities came, when Loki did invite me for that first Monian show, now I'm all over the place. But if there's no Steven, there's no Marxie, there's no Mexican Iron Man. Certainly not the way I am today, because he got me into the stadium to want to be a part and not just lurk. So,
wow, man! I did not know a lot of that. Wow, I'm glad that you were able to share that with us. So he's, on the other hand, he was a grinder to me. He would not let me miss it. If I screwed something up, which as you all know is all the time, I forget things or get something backwards or, forget an issue number or something. He was on my ass like wild on rice. I mean, in that chat, and that's just if he was in the chat. Not forget about when he was on with me. There were many, many times he was nice enough to be in the chat when I was doing the show, of course, right? And when I was doing something else, whether I had another guest or what I was doing, and he was such a good friend. He was always there in the chat like he was for the big channels, and if I got something wrong or forgot something, he would bust my ass, like I said, and he would laugh at me because and which was hilarious. And of course, I took it in the way you take it from a friend. He was a great pal, and a lot of people. I guess I said this stuff last year a lot, but for those who don't know, because we do have some people here that are relatively new to this show that have become loyal listeners of the show that don't know a lot of these things, nothing, especially what you were just talking about, Mike, but in general, that when I was running my comic shop in 1988, 89, that was when he, as a youngster, started buying comic books from me, as you probably already know. You guys probably already know this, but just to give a little background is how we got to know each other. And yet, remember, he was a kid. I was a young adult. So fast forward many Years when we bump into each other in a comic shop about 15 years later, or whatever it was, the local comic shop. And by the way, this has happened to me many times where I would run into somebody 10, 20 years later, whatever it was, and whichever of the comic shops I had happened to be running, whether it was my own or other ones that I've run into so many people. Our buddy Valiant Renegade, he used to buy comics for me at a shop I ran for a friend of mine in the 90s. So, and he's just one of many. So I would, they start talking about some comic shop they bought comics from when they were a kid. The conversation would go on for a little bit. Then I would realize, holy crap, that's me. It's happened a lot. And it happened with him. And then we became friendly. We were bumping into each other at the comic shop, the local one here, over the years, while it was, over the years, and we started talking. We would talk about my old podcast on BTR a little bit, and we had a bit of a clash. As you can see, the artwork on this picture, folks, is from. I thought it would be proper to put his favorite artist on there, John Byrne. These are some examples of Mark's favorite all-time artist. He was a big John Byrne fan, and I'm a fan as well. But I have a lot of problems with Byrne's Superman. He liked Byrne's Superman. I didn't. His Superman revamp of 1986. So. Every now and then when we would bump into each other, we would argue about it and talk about it in a friendly and fun way. And we would talk comic book art and stuff because he's a great artist. Mark was a great artist as well. And he wanted to draw comics. And he'd say something. We would talk about it. I think I said to him once, well, you can come on my show. We'll have a big argument about it. We'll talk about it on there one night. I said, oh, cool, sure. And you know how things go. You say things and you mean it, but you don't really follow up on it that much. So every time we would bump into each other, he'd say, well, I still want to come on there. I said, or I would see him say, hey, you still want to come do the show? Yeah. And that went on for years. Not that either one of us didn't want to do it. It's just, life happens. You're busy. He was a very busy man. He had things to do. And eventually, when I moved to YouTube, finally, I bumped into him at some point before that. And he goes, dude, are you ever going to have me on, man? Were you chicken? You want to talk about Superman? He was messing with me at some shop when we ran into each other. Or maybe it was at a restaurant we were a whole bunch of us geeks went out to. And I said, dude, I'm moving to YouTube now. Well, you want to be the first show? And we will talk about Byrne's Superman. What do you think about that? And so he did, and we did. It was one of the first shows that I did over here. And I think it was the very first one or the second one maybe. But it was one of those. And after that, just, hey, man, let's do some more together. And we started doing shows together. We started reviewing comics together. And we did some other things outside of comics, but mostly we did a lot of streams. It seemed like we had so much more. And right before things started going, bad for him around January of last year, we had all these plans for these comics we wanted to review. I considered him part of this channel. Obviously, he was a busy man. Anytime he wanted to come on, he had carte blanche. Come on, dude, let's talk. You want to just pop in, just shoot the shite for nothing, just anything. Anytime he wanted to come on, he was welcome. I considered him a part of this show. But obviously, I didn't put pressure on him to be there all the time because he's a busy man raising a kid and stuff. So we had comics, as you and I, Loki, are talking about doing some reviews now, some comic books, and I've done some this past month. We had planned a few. We talked about so many we wanted to do. We had one ready. We all know what happened. We all know what happened a year ago next after that, and it didn't come to fruition. Well, for a year, I just decided I didn't want to. That thing that he and I were going to do, for a whole year, I put it off. I just couldn't do it. It was the classic comics review thing. It just didn't feel right to do it for a while. I mean, because we had all those plans. I love so many other wonderful friends we have here, but I didn't really want to do it with anyone else. And just started back this January because I thought, let's see if it can be fun. And it is. But I tell you what, I mean, some of the ones he and I talked about, I don't know if I'll ever review those with anyone else. If you see what I mean.
Maybe one day you will. I can completely understand why you wouldn't want to. Something, and Mike kind of knows a little bit about this because I've talked to him a little bit about it. One of the things that I have been thinking about the last couple of years that's been kind of on my mind is something Kirk said, and he said it in Wrath of Khan. He said, how we deal with death is just as important as how we deal with life.
Yes, that's right.
And there have been people that I have met over the last couple of years that have meant so much to me. And then there are people that look at this as something completely foreign to what I look at it as. They look at it like a number. They look at it like a paycheck. They look at it like this is going to fix all my problems.
Yeah.
Instead of looking at it like us all being in this together and being a part of it. And that's something Mark knew. And that's something Mark understood. Being in chat, not talking just at the person that's running the show. Cause you get that. You'll get people that are like, all they do is at this person, at Clobby. They don't actually have a conversation with anyone in chat. They just try and talk to you. And, there's so much that's missed because of that. There's so much that is missed. And to let those opportunities pass you by, to let arguments, backstabbing, number crunching, number worship, whatever it is, to let that be a focus takes away from every great thing that this is. And it makes me realize and appreciate everyone, not just the people giving super chats, not just the people showing up, but the people that might show up only once a month, the people that might only show up once a year, the people that just showed up the very first time, everybody. It's not just a focus on one thing, on one person, on one event. It's all of it. And we're all doing this together, even the people in chat. We're all doing this together. And some of us are fighting for something. Some of us are trying to represent something. Mark knew more about comics than anybody else I know. I mean, he's right up there, fourth Paun level, however Mexican Iron Man says it with you, Clobby.
He was one. Well, that's the thing. He was one of those I felt like I could talk about with, because of that, what you just said there. I could talk about comics with him forever. And it's just, like I say, find someone that loves and knows Star Trek as much as you, or Star Wars as much as you, or comics as much as you, whatever it is, and you could go on forever. Now, of course, not everyone knows everything. You'll tell them stuff that they go, oh yeah, really, and then they'll tell you stuff. Oh, really? You'll just for example, he was so engaged in loving comics. And yes, Lisa, I did start doing it, but it took me a year just to start. But I'm doing it now. Because of him. Hello there, Alex James. He basically was still so engaged to learn about comics. For example, he'd never read Legion of Superheroes, and because he heard us going on and on about how much of a Legion of Superheroes fan I was, he kept asking me which ones to get. And the next thing I know, it was like a couple weeks later, he was just telling me which ones do we like. And I told him the Baxter run, different stuff like that. Next thing I know, he bought the whole, the Baxter run, for those who don't know, it's about like 63 issues long. He went out of town to a comic shop and he said, $90, I got the whole run. Boom. I'm going to read them now. Wow, dude. on me talking about it, and
Yeah.
and I would be talking about some really obscure comic because I'm older than him that he didn't know about. Next thing I know, he'd be like, I ordered this because you were talking about this. I'm like, whoa, dude. And I said, now if you don't like it, it's going to be my fault. You spent all that money. I said, nah, whatever. He just wanted to read it. He was so engaged. He loved the art form of comics. I have a number of friends that love the art form of comics as much as I do. And he knows about all the old artists like I do and stuff. But you can't find, but there aren't that many people that are into it the way he and I both were. And that's why he was a sheer joy to do shows with, because he truly loved it. The difference is he could actually draw. I can't draw flies. He was a great artist and knew his stuff. We did a show, our top 25 all-time favorite artists. I had so much fun doing that show. I wish I could do it all over again with him. I mean, it's just, I'm sad when it was over. I was sad it was over because it was so much fun doing it. Lisa has to run, it looks like.
She also said you should do it.
Yeah,
you should do it, that he would want you to. And I agree with that.
Well, yes, I think he would, and I have started doing it, Lisa, in honor of him. But thank you, Lisa. Really appreciate you.
He's probably been yelling at you that you haven't done it yet, knowing him.
That's what I know. Yeah, because he'd bust my chops big time, dude. He would. I don't know. He was nice. Look, I used to tease him. I said, "Dude, you're nice to everybody but me. What's wrong with you?" And he says, "And I'm the only one you do a show with, man. What the hell?"
Sometimes we're hardest on those we love the most.
He was just a good natured guy, like to bust some chops.
We wanted the best for you,
and he is just well, like I said, he could have. And there's the thing about this that we gloss over a little bit. He could have done his own show easily. He had the charisma for it. He had the knowledge for it. He could have. I mean, obviously, he was a very busy man, but he could have easily done a show on his own, and yet he achieved a certain status amongst a lot of people. Not doing a show. Do you know any other chatter in any of these chats that YouTube that has done that?
No.
Not that he was set out to do it either. He just was being himself.
Yeah. I mean, I don't. And I if there's any channels that, I mean, I really see I cannot underscore this enough because, and I wish I could see everybody that's going to watch this show, even on the replay. But whatever I've done for all of the channels that I do stuff for, it is all traced back to the roots of the relationship, that the role modeling first, and then the relationship I had. I'm actually reading the last Twitter exchange between Steven and me. It was on February 12th at 6:59 p.m. And he said to me, "Let Friday Night Frolics know I'm home resting. Getting strong for a surgery to remove some tumors." That was our last exchange. And I never mentioned this to Loki. Well, maybe I did. I don't know if I did mention this to Loki or not, but I had plans that I thought I was going to get my surgery done in November. I thought I'd be better by December. And I thought by February, I'm sorry, originally it was February. Remember, Loki, like by February?
Yep.
I was going to be driving across the country.
Yeah.
Boy, was I still a mess. But Steven and I had been talking, and I was gonna meet up with him and you too was the original idea. I was gonna go through Louisiana and stop, and I never got a chance to hug him in person. But I'm literally, and and I've opened this DM several times in the last month, probably 2 or 3 times in the last week, and I'm just so thankful that I got to know him, and for all the channels that I've helped one way or the other, it's Steven's legacy. Because if he hadn't inspired me, I don't know if I ever would have come out of my shell the way I have. And I miss him.
I tell you what, I didn't know a lot of the things you told me tonight, Mike. I was not aware of, and you and I, and we haven't talked much about him since then. But I don't know. I'm just flabbergasted here. So Monkey Jeebus, hello there. Good to see you. I can't even imagine, but that really has more of an impact on me tonight than just about anything, because I had no idea that he had that kind of impact on you.
Yeah, and then the DM stopped, which was weird for me because he and I mean, I'm looking at the DMs, we even like over Christmas.
Yeah.
we're talking about Pablo Hidalgo on December 28th. Um,
Yeah.
oh yeah, Pablo, and then they stopped, and then the next thing I knew was when you told me and stuff, and
Yeah, that was a brutal night.
yeah,
It was happened to be a Friday night, and that was just a day or two after it had happened because he had some kind of his phone had been locked down. He had no way to tell him. But I had been texting him that week a little bit, I believe. But it had been a couple of weeks since I'd heard from him. So, yeah, when I started losing contact with him on the texting. That's when I got worried. But none of us expected this. Wow, it really hit us blindside.
well, he carries on through us one way or the other, right?
Yes, yes,
Um,
absolutely. Well, like I say, always be Monday night Marxie comics talk. That's for sure. And yeah, Claude says Mark met Neil Adams in Neil Adams' office up in New York. One of his great story. See, again, he loves comic book art so much. He went all over the place and met a lot of his favorite artists. He's drawn his own comic, of course, as we all know. Like you say, he's always trying to help people get into comics. That would. Many times I was doing a show. Our wonderful friend Raquel, who couldn't be here tonight, she was not feeling well. Love you, Raquel. If you're hearing this, I hope you feel better. She said that he would be really so sweet to her in the chats that when we were talking about Star Trek comics, she didn't know anything about comics. He kept naming all these comics that she should read, and then he ended up buying one for her. Just went out that she talked about because she couldn't get it up there, and of course the shipping was too ridiculous. He was never able to ship it to her because of how outrageously expensive it is to ship up across the border up there, as you may know. But he went out there and he didn't have to do that. Went and picked up a book he wanted her to, and he did that for a lot of people. He sent things to. I think he sent a lot of things to some YouTubers that he liked. I think he sent a lot of stuff to DC and Gary. In fact, he had a package for Gary that he finally was, unfortunately didn't get sent till after he was gone, but he got it because of what he wanted him to have it. So, he was very, very, very generous man, fun-loving man. Again, nobody loved the geek stuff. I mean, he was so one of us in that stuff. No one loved comics like him. No one loved. I mean, he loved Star Wars and Star Trek, and he knew it. I mean, again, he knew it all too. Knew it all very well. And could help, carry a conversation on anything. He also liked guilty pleasure movies. We did a show one time. He said, let's do our top 25, not bad movies, guilty pleasures, movies that we know are bad, but we like them anyway. And I was saying, I have a few of those. I don't know if I could do 25. He said, I could do 100. I said, whoa, okay. So what the hell? Let's do it. I said, you do 25. I'll name as many as I can. Let's do it. We did it. And it was just because he wanted to do that. I said, well, if you want to do it, dude, let's do it. So we did. I have a Marxie playlist in my description below, folks, or the shows we did do together, and that's one of them. But that's the thing. He had a lot of interest, and he just loved to geek out and talk about geek stuff. And I guess because he had a busy life, a busy schedule, he didn't get to do it as much, like just sit and hang out and talk with other geeks as much. I think that's why he liked the YouTube channel so much, because everyone was doing that. And, he had so much to offer in terms of actually being on a show and talking. He could have easily done his own show. And who knows, maybe he would have eventually. And I'd have been right there watching him if he did.
I have a question. I never got a chance to ask him, and it's just if I don't know if it's ever come up in our conversations, but what is the origin story of the Marxie name for Steven?
Well, he said basically I think now his family could correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe, of course, his name is Mark Stephen Shure. And so I think a lot of his, I think he just wanted to have everyone knew him as Stephen. In fact, the first time I saw him, he was in one of these chats, Mike, a couple years back, probably after you'd met him. It may have been Doomcock's chat, right? Or something like that. Well, I happen to have a good friend of mine for like 20 years ago, for 20 years that I've known, 30 years, who his name is Mark and his last name starts with a C, right? So I'm sitting in this chat and this guy sees me and he starts talking to me like he knows me. And we're back and forth. Hey, how's it going? And we're talking like we know each other. So I'm convinced it's that friend from New Orleans, not this friend. because I knew him as Steven.
Right.
And it took me 2 weeks till finally I said something to him I said something to Steven in a text. He said, no, I'm not that guy. I'm not the one you're talking. I don't think that's who you know, that wasn't me, whoever you're thinking of. And then I talked to the other one. He said, no, that wasn't me. I said, oops. And so it took me a while on that, but I think everyone knows him as Steven here. I believe his father was Mark. And he just went with the name. I think his father was Mark. Is that right, Mark's sister? Let me know if that's not right. And he just went Marxie. That I don't think there's much of an origin other than he wanted a different kind of moniker, I suppose.
Yeah, because so many people knew him as Steven.
She says, I listened to that show about the bad movies we love the next week. I was working on cleaning out his house, and there was a copy of Heart Beeps and Andy Kaufman on his night table. Yes, he did have that one on there. He had a lot of movies. Oh, yes.
Not exactly Citizen Kane, that one.
No, he had he had some of the movies on there. I was like, dude, you watched that? Jesus, man. He liked some crappy movies. And he liked them because he knew they were crappy. He liked them. Let's see. Yeah, okay, so here you go. So we always called him Steven, not to confuse with my dad, who was Mark. Is that not? Yes, his dad was Mark K. So I guess that's why. And he just, so there you go. Boy, did he have he has a lot of movies, that's for sure. And Claude, of course, let's see, met at a comic shop. The last place I saw him was a comic shop now. Yeah. I think the last place I saw him was a restaurant when we all went out that geek night one night, Claude, if I remember that right. And we were, it was, oh my God, I can't remember exactly when that was. So as far as seeing him, we do the show together so much, we just didn't bump each other at the shop because I wasn't going to buy any new comics anymore. I don't think he was buying many new comics either toward the end there. I don't think he cared either. They were so bad, But let's see. Hungerbush says, did he like Steranko? He was a fan of John Carpenter films. He was. Oh, he loves Steranko. Oh, yeah. This man had exquisite taste in comic book art because he was a great comic book artist himself, Mark. I consider him a comic book artist. I know he didn't. He's drawn a couple of his own comics. He's a great artist. And, yes, he had great taste in all. Hungry Boy, if you can, you've got that show the two of us did where we picked our favorite comic book artists. We also did our favorite comic book covers, and we had so many other topics, comics-wise, that we wanted to do. Which was fun, So, yeah. Indeed, my friends. Thank you all for putting that in there. We really appreciate you all being here tonight. Thank you. Hey, Dr. Herky Monkey. Good to see you. Alex James, Monkey Jeebus. A lot of old friends from the past there. They remember him. Loki and Mike, one of the I don't want to say strangest things that ever happened to me not too long after Mark had passed, but one of the interesting things about his impact on people that he had chatted with or had contact with on Twitter or what have you. About sometimes last summer, my dear friend Michael of Retro Blasting. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Retro Blasting.
Of course.
Michael French and I we did a show. We were counting down our in order, our ranking the Marvel MCU movies. Mike and I were doing that show, and a young lady, I forget the name now, right? But so one young lady comes into the chat, and I had 10 times the people I usually get on my chat because Michael was, it was huge, and it was with the Marvel movies. So I had a gigantic chat, and young lady, and she, you could tell she was, I guess, was pretty indignant and offended that I was calling it Marxie Comics Talk, because that's her friend Marxie that she had. She loved him, and she was so sad about his passing. It's been a few months at that point, and she was offended that somebody would try to take advantage or exploit that name or whatever, and she was indignant. And
I remember that. I remember when that happened.
Yeah, it was weird. It was this was again, maybe it was on that show Michael and I did about Marvel MCU. It was about like in maybe June or July, I can't remember exactly. But so she came on. She thought I was just taking his name to use it or whatever. And so when she did that, I stopped Michael and I told her that no, I explained to her that he was my friend and all this other stuff. And our good friends in the chat also, I think Eric and a lot of other people explained to her. And Mark's sister, thank you, Mark's sister. Appreciate this. He would be beyond honor. He'd be honored, and then he would he would come back and pick on me about it. and joke with me and stuff. And that's wish he would. But yes. So yeah, she was. But again, this young lady never met him before once. She said he was always, and after she said, "Oh, okay," she said he was always so nice to him. He always made her feel good in chats and stuff, and she talked to him on Twitter a little bit. And these are people that never once met him, never once. I don't know if she ever, obviously since she was just popping in now, she'd never heard any shows I'd done with him because she didn't know I knew him. She just assumed that I was doing that. So she's never heard his voice, nothing. But she was protective of him and considered him a friend and I guess a warm, presence in her life that she liked to interact with. Again, I cannot stress enough how extraordinary that makes what he did with that persona. Again, considering he's not on here yapping like I am or like any of the other guys do. He just typed back and forth with people and yet touched enormous amounts of people.
Someone told me when I first started doing this, someone told me, you don't really know any of these people.
Right.
That does not mean that someone cannot have a dramatic effect on your life. That does not mean that someone cannot affect who you are and who you are going to become, because people have done that. I would not be who I am today without Mexican Iron Man. I would not be who I am today without a lot of the people I have met and a lot of the people that have affected my lives. Whether I have met you in person or not, Clobby, you were one of those people. My life would not be the same if I had not met you.
Thank you, buddy.
And I have not met you in person.
Yep.
So someone I have not ever met in person has had a dramatic effect on my life. And that is what Mark has done. Is he has had a dramatic effect on people's lives. He has, whether he was the first one to greet them when they showed up somewhere, that's something I've heard a lot about.
Yeah.
Is this person was the first person to say hello to me. And that's something that someone might look past and go, I don't understand that. When you are somewhere, let's say every Friday night at 8:00, you are watching a show on YouTube, talking to people in chat. And if you've done that for a year and the first person, you will always remember that first person that said hello to you for the first time, because for some people, that's a hard thing to do. That is a hard thing to do, to say hello. And yet there could be anywhere from 5 people to 1,000 people or more, and get completely run over and feel like, well, I said hi and no one said hi back. They just completely missed me, until that one person says hi back. And suddenly you're having a conversation, and then you're having a conversation with more people, and then you're showing up every week and you're talking to all these different people that you talk to every week. That is a very life-affecting thing. It's not something that can just be dismissed out of hand of, you've never met these people.
Absolutely. And they just, again, it shows to him they were people. There's so many of them there. They're all over the world. You're never going to actually meet so many of these people. But he treated them like people. And are we on there? Are we being heard? Okay. Oh, just lost the sound. Alex James.
I hear you fine.
Okay, good. Sorry about that. Alex James says, I met him in the chat on Doomcock stream, and we always had good discussions when we communicated. Hell of a guy, 1 in a billion. Thank you, Alex James. Appreciate that. And yes, that was it. And there's the funny thing about that, Mike and Logie. It may not seem like much in the grand scheme of things, but there are a lot of people that, if you just talk to them like human beings and engage them, I don't know. I think it takes a special talent to do that if you're doing a stream or a podcast, to do it the way he did it. Through the chats is astonishing. Again, I
even
cannot
more extraordinary.
It's really extraordinary. It really is. I really mean that, because, he was as human as the next of us, as the rest of us. But he had this way of I think it probably kind of just boils down to an extraordinary ability for conversation. because conversation is an art. A lot of people never really realize that, and he just was so good at it that it does affect people, and he really enjoyed it too. He liked talking about this stuff, and he knew a lot about it. Obviously, he had a lot of knowledge too. So he is he was an amazing individual. Like I said, we've had a couple of people here who have become friends of the show after that didn't know him. So I'm glad they're learning about him a little bit there. That, because I learned stuff tonight that you told me, Mike. I didn't realize, about the effect that he had on you, man. And that just that blows me away, man.
Yeah, and I was really mad at myself that I wasn't able to. Loki knew how angry I was when I got in the accident, and part of it was I was looking forward. Well, I was looking forward to meeting everybody on this massive cross country trip that didn't happen, but it was just it was it's hard to explain it. When I really compare and contrast 3 years ago versus a year before he passed a year ago to like now, I literally wish I could tell so many channels that I've helped in so many different ways that the true genesis of me coming out of my shell in the very, very beginning was Steven.
Wow.
Had he not set that role model, and there's others that impact me in different ways. And I've
sure
on other shows I've talked about with Dave Bob, the reason why I call him my big brother, and certainly the Admiral, and those are the giants. And to me, I was so nervous and worked my courage up to ask him to do the comic book roundtable, and I was so excited. I didn't realize I was turned down. I'm like, okay, great, yeah, I'll keep you posted. Yeah, I'll let you know. Yeah, and like, wait, what? Oh.
Well, he eventually did it though. So he eventually did do it.
Well, I was talking about the Tuesday night show with me and Loki.
Yeah, I know. Oh, yeah, I know. But he later went on there, didn't he? Yeah.
Yeah. But I was talking about like I was trying to get him to commit. I was trying to get him to commit to be like the star, headliner. Week after week after week, not a guest. No, I was. I went to him to try to talk him into like being a regular guy. Sure. Like Fox 5 kind of thing, or like a. Just imagine him. Just yes, little brown boy. Yes, little brown. Yeah. Well, you go, little brown boy. You go. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Pat S says, I lost it there. Pat S says, Marxie and I swapped stories about Sad Sack creator George Baker. I have no idea if he was a fan or liked Harvey Comics, but he never made me feel lesser than that because I do. Great guy. Actually, he did. He had respect for the art form. I couldn't tell you off the top of my head whether we talked about Harvey Comics or not, whether he was a fan of him. I know he was like me, he liked superhero stuff and like science fiction things. Like your buddy D-Bud, for example, he's a big fan of those Harvey Comics. I couldn't tell you, honestly, whether he was a fan of those, although Mark's sister says, remember Sad Sack? We had some of my dad's original Sad Sack comics. But what I can tell you is that he was very serious about the medium, and he loved the medium so much, and he loved comics so much that he respected Baker, and he respected all cartoonists and stuff, being one himself, and he respected those books. So even whether it was his bag or not, or he collected them, I couldn't say. But he loved his comics, man. Again, that's just we kept in touch so much, so often. I would get some kind of, whether I would get a message from him, he would say, "Hey, did you ever?" It was one again because nobody's read it all. I mean, I may have sold most of it once or another, but there are plenty of comics I haven't read either. So, and so even he couldn't have read them all. So there have been plenty of times he would, I guess he was looking around on the internet or he's heard about some comic, and he would always ding me and go, "Hey, did you ever read this? Should I give it a look? What do you think?" And I would tell him if I knew anything about it or not. And then sometimes he would go out and grab it because he wanted to read. He still was so engaged in comics. He goes, if there was one that was a gap in his It's something he just never really was into, but he hears a lot of people talking about it. He didn't do what most people did. He goes, well, that's interesting. I'd really think it got to him. So he goes, I got to check that out. He was that inquisitive about comics as well. He loves the art form and the medium of comics, which so do I. So, and he was a go-getter when it comes to that kind of stuff. He'd try anything.
Right.
You know, he loved his comics, man. And like me, he loved to go to comic shops too. He's always sending pictures of comic shops he would go to that I wish I could go to.
And his mastery in terms of the storylines and the characters, and he could talk about the difference of, not only did he remember storylines and issue runs and all that, but he was so dialed in, and he had he's like a computer database, like literally like I mean, right, Clobby? Like it would be like the equivalent of Googling anything, and he would know. He would even know the difference, not just the difference between how one artist drew Superman or not, but literally the nuances of, like, things like who inked it, who wrote it, who, all of the nuances against, some people just say, oh, like, for example, Green Lantern. Some people say, oh, you know what, I'm more of a Hal Jordan guy, and then Steven would jump back and says, okay, but when so-and-so started writing and drawing them, did you really like those or not? You know what I mean? Like, he was, oh man, the mastery that he had is just unbelievable.
That's, again, another thing we shared we had in common is how much we love that kind of minutia about comics and comics history and the art and everything about it. Again, the only big difference was he could actually draw and I couldn't. So he was a real artist, and I was just someone who liked to look at it and wish I was an artist. JT25, thank you for that. Appreciate you. And of course, the great Your Muslim's Uncle. Hello, my friend. Has a $1.99 super chat. Thank you, buddy. You're too kind. Says, check your DM. It's done. What's done? I'm not sure what you refer to, but I'm checking it now, and I'm seeing a picture. But I'm not sure what is that a picture of? What does that refer to there? Your Muslim uncle. Let me elaborate in the DM if you would, brother, so I know what that's from, buddy. Okay, if you wouldn't mind, thank you. But thank you though for that. Oh, there it is. I got send. Let's see. Oh, you got a well. Oh, send to have a well made for Mark Sherry. Send you a pic when it's made. Okay, he got the well. That's a well he had made. It's a well in his name, in Marxie's name, for people that don't have access to water. Oh my goodness, it's a well, and he had Marxie's name put in for people who don't have access to water. That's beautiful. My goodness, you guys want to see that?
Oh yeah,
sure.
Let's see here. Your Muslim uncle. That's amazing. Let's see. Now I don't know which country this is. You can give me some, basically more info on that. Let me take a look here. Let me and I'll pull this. Send me a picture here. Hang on a second here. Okay. My computer is very slow, folks. Sorry. Sorry, everyone. My computer's going really slow. All right, got it now, I think. Is it? You guys can you see anything?
Nope. You got your thing over it. The Clobberin Times banner.
I got the
1 year
overlay.
later. Yep, you got the overlay on it.
I've done that before. Damn me. Okay, there you go. This is I don't know the country. Maybe you could tell me the country.
It's probably Pakistan, because a lot of the charitable work for the nonprofit that Yassine, who's your Muslim uncle, and I are involved with, we've donated before. I didn't know that he could donate specifically in Steven's name. That's fantastic. That's
absolutely
That's beautiful.
Wonderful.
That is fantastic. Thank you, Yassine. That is really
amazing.
Is beautiful. Thank you.
That's these kids getting water. That is heartwarming right there. My goodness, that is very kind of you to do something like that in his name. He was a very kind person, and if his name is on something, that is doing something wonderful for people like that, I'm sure he would have loved it.
It is. It's a phenomenal charity. They do very important work, and they're not about. It's literally the kind of organization where 100% of what you give goes straight to a project. There's no overhead. There's nothing. I've checked them out thoroughly, and thank you, Yassine. That's amazing. Very moving. Thank you.
Your Muslim uncle, thank you so much. That is very touching. Very kind of you, my friend. Salute to you. Oh, look at those people. That's beautiful. That is beautiful. And I know he would have been proud. I don't know. I can't speak for anybody, but you know what I'm saying. I believe that he would. I can't speak for anybody, so I'm not saying that, but I think that's beautiful, though. Thank you so much, your Muslim uncle. That's amazing. And you were amazing, sir. Let's see here. But what? Okay, got it. This thing's my computer's going really slow, everyone. I apologize. So it's really slow tonight.
It's all right,
slower than me, and that's bad. Sorry about that, man. But thank you again, sir. I really appreciate that. And I know, and I'll get that picture to you. I'll get those pictures to you, Marxie sister. I will share this with Stephen's son. Thank you. She says, thank you. I'll get those pictures to you. That's amazing. There you go. Oh my goodness. I'm touched by that. That's just beautiful. Wow. Well, I'll tell you what, Mark loved comics. He loved some other stuff too. We talked about some other stuff too. We talked about football every now and then. We talked about I know he loved music, but I don't know exactly all what it was. A lot of this stuff his sisters know more about, obviously, than me, that I ever would. But what I do know about this side of his persona is that, man, we were never going to run out of comics to review. So before the end of this year, I don't know who I'm going to get to do it with me, but he wanted it reviewed. And the one he wanted reviewed most was Simonson's Thor run. So I'm going to do it for him, because of course he wanted to, and he wanted to be us. And that's a long run, by the way. But that was one he liked a lot. He loved John Byrne. He liked music. He liked classic rock, Eagles, Rush. There you go. Yes. He loved John Byrne, and it's kind of funny. We used to argue back and forth about Byrne, and I used to tell him that, I think you're the second biggest John Byrne fan I've ever met. He said, who's the first? He caught him. He should have caught on, but I got him. So John Byrne, of course. And he laughed. He knew that Byrne was a pretty big ego and stuff, but he really loved his work. And we had a lot of fun talking. I do like Byrne as well, by the way. People think I don't like Byrne just because I've criticized some of the stuff he did. Yes. Yeah, late brother was a big Thor fan, Andy. Yes. A lot of Thor fans around here.
Oh, Loki. I said, for Loki.
Yeah. Of course, Loki's a big Loki fan. He probably doesn't like Thor very much.
No,
not at all. No. I can't believe anybody would fall for that blonde muscle. No.
Oh boy, here we go.
But the Simonson run on Thor was pretty damn good, though. So, I promised to get on that eventually for him. It just I was reluctant to it, but it'll happen. It'll happen. We've been reviewing some comics, in his name, like I said.
Someone might have some Thor core comics hidden away in a stash somewhere.
You bought Thor a lot, did you?
I liked the Loki comics, actually. There's a couple of Thor comics that are mainly about Loki, so of course,
Yeah.
But I did like Thor core. I liked the three different Thors, and at least that's what they were when I bought them when I was a kid. So you had Thor, you had the doctor that was Thor,
Don Blake.
Don Blake, and then you had that weird looking donkey one. I can never remember his name.
Donkey. Beta Ray Bill.
Beta Ray Bill, thank you. Yes, Beta Ray Bill and the So
That's the Simonson run. Then there was Thunderstrike. Our good buddy Mark D with the C is a big fan of his. He just bought the action figure, did a video about him. I've been teasing him. I said, dude, do you think anyone really likes Thunderstrike beside you? But I'm teasing him. I'm trying to think though. I want to ask. This is one thing I would have to ask his sisters if they're still here, because I've never been clear about this. Because I don't know if we've ever had the conversation or not, Mark and I, Steven and I, but who was his favorite character? Was it Superman? I always thought it was Superman, but he loved the Thing like I do. I know he loved Batman. We loved all the same characters for the most part. He wasn't a Legion fan, but he was about to do a deep dive and read those. I know he loved Thor. But who would your sisters, like the sisters of Mark who are still here, was Superman his favorite character? Because that's something I got to admit, we've never had that conversation. It's one thing to say, obviously we know he loved him. We know he loved him. But I wonder who his number one was. And if, I'm sure his son knows. I mean, because I don't know. I have lots of friends when I think about it, I don't know who their number one favorite superheroes. Like, for example, we know Mexican Iron Man's favorite is the Flash.
No.
Oh, I got that wrong. Oopsies.
Yeah, okay.
I thought you were a fan. Growing up, she would say, listen here, she would say Superman for sure, but his tattoo is Captain America. Yes, he loves Cap. That's right. I know he loves Cap. I was just curious. Some people tell it's pretty clear cut. I mean, everyone knows the Thing is my favorite superhero, but you could talk to somebody for 20 years and not know who their number one is. So, and I don't think I ever asked him that question. Now I want to know. And so you think probably, well, I think so. Mark thinks probably. I think it was Superman. He loved Cap. He loved all the big guys. Loki, I don't know your favorite superhero.
Superman.
Okay. Oh, I did not know that. Wow. Okay.
Oh yeah. Right. So it's been Superman. Very, very little Loki was running around the house, possibly without any clothes on, with a blanket wrapped around his screaming Superman, jumping off of couches, and very, very little Loki.
Well, Marxie's sister, and I do remember this. I remember, and I was so touched that you all did this. They had him in his funeral, buried in his Superman T-shirt with a drawing he did of Captain America. So he loved them both, that's for sure. There you go. And
I was a Batman guy. That's why me and Loki get along so well.
Yep.
One of our first conversations, me and Loki, was about Superman and Batman, and I remember one conversation we talked about, why do you like Superman so much? I think it was before that first Fandom Sunday show, and then you talked to me about Batman, and shit, the rest is history.
You know that's the first superhero movie I can ever remember watching.
Which one?
Was Christopher Reeve Superman.
Oh yeah,
78 Superman, and that opening scene and how magic that is.
It's magic.
And, it's magic, man. It's just that all of that, and Jor-El. That is why I've always loved the black and silver on Superman, and will always love the black and silver. Is Jor-El's Judge's outfit in the beginning of that movie? I love those colors.
That was white though. Remember, he was wearing white.
Well, later it was white when he's standing in the When he's standing
at
in
the beginning,
courtroom,
he's wearing the black robes. I'm
Yep.
got you. You're right.
He's wearing the judge's robes. I love that black and silver. Ever since I saw it, I've been like, man, that is so cool. I wish he'd wear something like that.
The specific charges listed in here against the individuals.
And Marlon Brando had no idea what he was talking about. He was like, this is going to bomb. This is going to be the worst thing ever because no one's going to understand any of it.
Yeah. Marlon, you did your job. Go back. And, there's a scene where that famous scene where he's doing if you look closely, you can see him wearing his Rolex on Krypton.
Yes.
Yeah, but he got that. They should have just got somebody else, but they wanted to put that name on there.
Yeah.
At that time, that was about as big a name as it got. But yeah, so hello there, JD Lewis. Good to see you there, bud. Someone asked earlier, I believe I actually saw it in the chat. I don't know who it was now, but you asked who his favorite comic writer was. Interestingly enough, that's something that okay, I got you, Mike. That's something that we did talk about a lot. Now he didn't like Alan Moore that much. My all-time favorite writer is Alan Moore. He liked some stuff. I love a lot of Alan Moore stuff. The only Alan Moore stuff he really liked was Supreme, and of course he loved. I think he's read Supreme. He loved Tom Strong by Alan Moore. Other than that, he didn't like a lot of Alan Moore stuff. So I want to say I think Byrne might be his favorite writer. Hey, Jack's mama, hello there. That is, of course, the grandma of Mark's son, Jack. Hello there. Love this. Great to see you, my dear.
You know, it's funny. It's funny that I say that now, and it's funny that I know, Clobby, you don't like the death of Superman that much, but if it hadn't have been for that comic, I might have just told you that it was Wolverine or Cyclops or someone from the X-Men, because I'd pretty much given up on DC Comics at that point.
Really?
When
you were one of
Superman,
those, were you?
I was a Marvel guy. I had gone over to Marvel. I stopped reading DC Comics, and then they did that thing in The Death of Superman where the kid talks about Superman's just a big Boy Scout and he's nobody and yada yada yada, and then Superman dies and that kid's like, I took him for granted. And that was me. That teenage kid, that was totally me. I took him for granted and now he's gone. I, of course, at the time had no idea they were going to bring it back, and I realize, now that it was all just a big stunt to get.
Well, if you look at the biography, the DC documentary, you were exactly the market that they went after with that storyline.
Yes, and it worked.
Yeah, it was a stunt.
It really worked. It did. They totally had me hook, line, and sinker. I was thinking that one of the new Supermen, obviously, who's the new Superman? There are 4 of them. You've got Superboy, you've got all that, and I wanted it to be the last son of Krypton, the Eradicator. We didn't know he was the Eradicator then, but it wasn't for that. If it wasn't for those books, I would have never gone back to DC Comics. Brought me back. And I, of course, read Nightfall, Batman Nightfall, and all that other stuff, and when all that happened. But that kind of showed me that I could read both and not be a traitor to either one.
Yeah, I got you. My memory's jogged a little bit now. I remember when we talked about Superman, one of his reasons why he liked Burns and I didn't like Burns because Burns was wiping out 100, decades of continuity and doing his own thing, and retconning it and throwing great stuff that I loved and the work of other creators into the trash, and I hated him for it. And he said he was a lot younger than me, obviously, as you all know. And he said he'd read some Superman comics before that, and they didn't do anything for him. It was just a different time. He didn't really like them that much, and so he started, like a lot of people, at the beginning of the 1986 Byrne reboot, and that's how they got into it. So the older, us older readers at the time who didn't want to see Byrne just stepping on all of this stuff had a lot of problems with it. But for younger viewers like him, it got them into the character. So that was what got him started as a Superman fan. I thought I would relate that because I just remembered, when we were here thinking about certain things that he'd said before. And Jack's mama says, I am so blessed with your honoring Marxie. He will always hold such a special place in our hearts and lives. He was surely greatly loved. Thanks to you. Thanks to all of you. Well, Jack's mama, my dear, I hope you're doing well. Thank you so much for that. Please say hello to Jack for us, by the way. And thank you so much. Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Indeed. Thank you.
Mike.
Sir.
Did you say that you are needing to depart soon? If so, we could have some closing words from you if you would like.
Yeah, I do need to go. I've now declared defeat on my March 15th tax deadline, and I have 130. I have 138 extensions to e-file.
Oh my God, man! Again, I'm sorry to have taken your time up.
No, listen. I got stop. I got up at the crack 6 a.m. and I've been going full throttle because today we talked. There's no way I was missing the show from when you announced it over a week ago.
Thank you, buddy.
So I've been, And Loki can tell you. I mean, he knows I've canceled a ton of appearances in the last week. But this is it's this it means a lot. And Loki, thank you so much for letting me off the hook for tomorrow morning. Clobby, thank you for doing the show. To Steven's family, thank you for being here. To those of you that are in the chat watching this on replay, for those of you that knew him, let's continue to love him, celebrate him, remember him, and live in the model that he set. Um, for those of you that didn't know him, know this, that if you know any of us and you enjoy what we're doing now on YouTube, know that in great measure, it is influenced by the role modeling and the role modeling and the example that this fine man set. And I think of him and remember him often. And he truly is a fine man. And it was so important. I believe that the universe, God, for those of you religious or not, I am. I believe it was destined to happen because the people that I now know in the YouTube world, I thank Stephen for helping me want to come out of my shell. And so to you, Stephen, I say thank you. I love you. We remember you. And the impact you had on me continues to live on.
Well,
Absolutely.
That was wonderful, buddy. Thank you so much for that and for being here, man. I cannot thank you enough. You've been a great buddy to mine since I've been here. You've been an inspiration to me and a lot of people. You're an inspiration to a lot of people, Mike. So for you to come here and talk about your inspiration like that, I'm glad that Mark had that. Mark Stephen Shure had that effect on you there. He had an effect on a lot of people, it seems. And man, wow, thank you.
Thank you, guys. All right. Well, good night to everyone, and love you all. Good night.
Take care, buddy.
Take care, brother.
Thanks, man. That night that we all announced it, a little over a year ago now, he got a lot of tributes from a lot of people that I didn't expect. One of them was Robert Meyer Burnett, who only knew him through the correspondence of not only the chat. Right, Jack's mom is Jack's mom is Jack's mom's mother. For those who don't know, let's see. Jack is Steven's son, but Jack's mama is Jack's son's mom. But glad you have to hear. Yeah, glad you. Yes, sometimes I must get that backwards and stuff. My apologies, everyone. But Robert Meyer Burnett, it was a big channel, who's a well-known Hollywood producer and writer and stuff. And Mark frequented his channel quite a bit. And not only did Super Chats, but of course was in the chat a lot. And also used to send pretty detailed letters to. He was a big fan of R&B. And he didn't agree with him on everything. So he sent tons and tons of letters and correspondence to RMB, who had like a huge channel, a lot of people contacting him, many times criticizing and or disagreeing with him on many, many points that he would make and things he would say. And I remember seeing many a time when he would read Mark's letters or, emails to him and was always impressed whether he disagreed or not. So that night he wrote, he wrote just as kind and as compassionate and as touching a tribute as you can get from someone you don't know, but you respect, if you see what I'm saying. Not a friend necessarily. They didn't know each other that well. They'd never spoken directly to each other, but someone who, was not an adversary either, just someone that they were on different sides sometimes, but someone that he had so much respect for that he gave a great tribute to Mark. And of course, Mark was a fan of his. It was mutual. She sent a picture of that Stephen had drawn back in December. That's right. That he had drawn of Mark. And of course, Mark kept it up as his, as his avatar on Twitter for a long time. That picture that Stephen did of him, he was flattered by it. And so I really thought that's just that kind of epitomized that, this is a guy that's pretty well known, and Mark had his ear, and the guy, he didn't have to do that. R&B didn't have to do that. It shows what a class act and a good, good guy that R&B is, that he respected Mark and paid him a what I thought was a very touching and honorable tribute to our buddy.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I probably should have. Yeah, Eric, I just thought about that. As well. I should have asked RNB to stop in. I would love to have had him pop in, but I'm sure I know he's a busy man. But who knows? Maybe he'll mention it. I don't know. But yeah, same deal, Eric. I did ask Gary, but I didn't give him that kind of a very good notice. So unfortunately, I was not able to give him, proper notice for it. So I understand this is the way it goes. But hey, maybe those guys will mention him on their shows as well. I hope so. So, yeah. I miss him, bud. I tell you what. But we all do, and I'm just again, Loki, blown away by a lot of that stuff that Mike told us tonight. I don't know about you, but I didn't know a lot of that. So
he's talked to me about some of that. I didn't know that he got Mike to come out of his shell, though. I really didn't.
Yeah. I mean, well, he had an effect on a lot of people. Tell you what,
he did, and a positive one.
Yep. And he came up with about a little over a year ago, when everyone was going nuts over WandaVision in the first few episodes before the thing got really weird. He went on with Fat Steven, and he talked to me and he talked to others. He came up with the best predictions that turned out to be the most accurate as well.
I did not know that.
Yeah, he went on Stevens for a bit. Some of those predictions about in terms of what they were stealing from for the show.
Oh yeah, yes.
Mark,
he was a master at that.
Well, Mark pretty much nailed a lot of that. Yeah. So, which was pretty good. And that was probably one of the, I think one of the last shows he may have gone on was actually when he went on with Steven.
And I consider myself kind of like really good at that, and he was popping off stuff that I didn't even know about, and I'm pretty good at like, oh well, they're taking this from that, oh they're taking this from this series and that from that series, and you see little clues, but yeah, he was an absolute master at it.
Was Zacharot, good to see you there. Hungry Boy says, was Marxie a fan of folklore outside of comics? That I don't know. His family may know that one. I don't. I mean, probably he was a man of of many interests and widespread interests. It would not surprise me. But if we ever talked about it, I don't know, man. I tell you what, I'm not sure. It's funny, Loki. When I go back and look at the playlist of the shows that we did together, Mark and I. It's not a gigantic number. I'm not sure exactly. I'll have to go check, see how many it is. It's not a gigantic number. I guess it just felt that way because there were long streams a lot of the times. And it was so much fun, that he was obviously, though, he was very busy, so he couldn't be there all the time. He had stuff to do. But when I could get him on, I was always happy to get him on there, especially when we're talking comics. But he did like other stuff. He was a Star Wars fan. He's a Star Trek fan. And I think he liked Doctor Who, if I remember right. But so he wasn't just about comics. He was a geek through and through. He liked geek stuff. He liked movies,
Yeah.
But when I think about it, let's see if the playlist. It says there are only like 12 shows that he was on. Most of them were him and myself, and maybe there were a couple others. But it seemed like so much more than that. But I hadn't really been doing the show that long. It seemed, if you'd asked me and I hadn't looked it up, I'd go, oh, man, we probably did 15, 20 shows. But no, it was only the 12. And then, wow, that makes me even sadder. If it could get sadder.
Well, you probably have some on your other...
No, he never came on the old show. This is
the
first time. No. This first time he ever did a show with me was the
YouTube one.
The YouTube one when I first moved to YouTube.
All right.
Yeah, so we were bumping into each other, and I wanted to get him on, and I say, well, dude, I would call him, hey, when you want to come on, that kind of stuff. Well, What do you want to have me on? Yeah, it was all over the place. Let's see. He was what's
Kind of
his
like we do.
Yeah.
What do you want me on?
It was my second YouTube show because the first one I did like a normal thing about myself or whatever it was, and it was yeah, there it is. It was called The Great Superman Debate with Marxie.
Heck yeah.
And I have a link in my description below for. Well, I'll put it in here now. This is a link to the playlist for anyone. Let's see. So other shows that we did together, by the way, where there was that one. Then we did Justice is Served. It was a comics review of the comic book Justice by Alex Ross and Jim Krieg, whatever it was. Whatever the guy's name was. Anyway, then we did a comics review of The Coming of Galactus Saga by Kirby and Lee. That was followed by our top 25 all-time favorite comic book artists. Then we did a show that I was very proud of that we had a lot of fun doing. And again, this is one of those things, Loki, when I was thinking about this topic for a good while. And then, before this, it just kind of popped up in there. And I was like, well, there's only one guy I'm going to do this show with. Let me call, see if Mark would like to do this. And I didn't know if he would or not. And it turns out he did. This was a show we did about, pass it up. Where did I see? Where is it? Oh, there he goes. It was about movies. I called it Movies into Comics with Marxie. It was a comic book. It was a show about all the comic book adaptations of movies that they used to do. You know how movies, every summer blockbuster. Oh, you did like Doctor Who. Thank you, Mark's sister. It was every summer blockbuster used to have a movie comic book adaptation.
Yes.
I'm sure you're familiar with that. Well, I just thought that would be an interesting idea for a show. He was all over it. So boom, we did it.
Heck yeah.
And had a lot of fun. We did best superhero cartoons. We did Flash Gordon, 86 years saving the universe, because we're both huge Flash Gordon fans. The comic strip.
Not the movie.
No, I like the movie, but yeah, we like the movie. But this was about a deep dive into him as a whole, as a character from the strips and the comic strips and movies and TV, all that stuff.
Nice.
And that was a 3-hour show.
I'd say I'm like on the other side of that. I'm a huge Ming fan. I'm a big Ming the Merciless.
There ain't no Ming without Flash.
That's right. There's no Flash without. Well, you can have Flash without Ming, but it's not going to be great Flash. You got to have a great Ming to have great Flash.
Yeah, well, of course. Then there was all-time favorite comic book covers. Then there was bad movies we love. Well, that's the one we're talking about earlier. Then there were a couple open comics talk shows he did with me that are on there. And then there was a big, oh man, this is sad here. The one we did Christmas party with the superheroes. It's a Christmas party for 2020 where he was on there and a bunch of you were on there with me. I believe you were on there as well.
Yep.
And so it just seems like we did so much more than that. And we had so much more planned. Wow. Here you go. There's a link, everyone, that I'm putting in the chat right there for the Marxie playlist. We did some shows that I'm very proud of. Every show I did with him, I'm proud of. By the way, I know I can't stand listening to my own show, so I never go back and listen. So the sound.
Oh, you're like that too? I'm like that too. I can't.
Never. Unless I have to for some reason, I don't. Yeah. I can't do it. Even though the 11 years and 7 episodes I spent on BTR, I was the same way. And I'm this way now. Unless I have to go back to look for something, I don't like it. But now, don't get me wrong. There's shows I'm very proud of that I love, but I still can't go back and listen to them because I hate hearing my stupid voice. But that said, there's shows I'm proud of, and when I say proud of it, just simply saying I had a good time, and it seemed like it rocked and rolled and flowed very well. It seemed like everyone else enjoyed it, and that's all that matters, really. And so
that's right. That's all that matters.
And or the subject matter was there again. The sound could be really cruddy on those. I don't know. Probably because I had a crappier microphone at that point. So who knows? But they were fun for me. And like I said, let's see. So, Mark's sister, let's see. He liked Doctor Who, but he didn't like Donna. I love Donna. He didn't like Donna. So it didn't make for a good Thanksgiving combo in my house. Yeah, that's right, because you were one of you was a fan of Donna, and he was not a fan. I did not realize he didn't like Donna. I like Donna. I was a big fan of Donna. But that was just me, I guess. So yeah, we did. Like I said, we had a lot of fun. The Flash Gordon show was one I was very proud of because who was going to celebrate Flash Gordon but the two of us? Nobody else, I guess. It just felt that way. I don't know. And I mean the character, not just the movie. I did like the movie. Yeah. But so that was fun. The movies list, that was that bad movies we love list. That was all him. That was his idea. I even told him, I said, I know what you're saying, like go through pleasure and stuff. But I got to be honest with you. I don't think I really have one. I mean, a bunch that I can make 25. So I said, you do 25 and I'll throw whatever I can in there, but let's just make it. Let's just do it. And so, cause he wanted to talk about those movies and I think he really enjoyed that. If I'm not mistaken, I think that was, so that was a lot of fun. So, and the one I probably might go back and see is the comic artist list we did. Cause that's one that's just, that was near and dear to his heart as well. So, and there were going to be some more, dude, but that's the way it goes, man. That's the way it goes.
And I want to tell you, you've gone on. You have continued to do these shows. That's a hard thing to do. I want to tell you, when you lose somebody, especially someone that's been involved with your channel for so long, doesn't matter why you've lost them. It is a hard thing to pick that back up and continue to do that. So bravo to you, my friend. I know it's been difficult.
Well, even though that's only 12 of them there's the thing about it. When I was doing other shows that he was not involved in almost all the time, when he could be, he was there in that chat.
Yeah.
Supporting me. That's another thing I had mentioned that I owe him. And look, he couldn't be there all the time. No one could be in everyone else's show all the time. I mean, just impossible. We're all doing all these other things and stuff. But he was there a lot and he was engaging. And again, he went to all the big shows. I don't know why he came to mind, but he was engaging with everyone and having a good time with people. Like I say, he became very friendly with Raquel and was very nice to her. And, Raquel's, by the way, Raquel's love to Mark. Wanted to make sure she got her love out there for him. And, I've made over the past couple of years not only great friends with her, but our good buddy Mark D with the C, who could be here tonight, but he, again, because his name is Mark and people are always thinking it's Mark C, he's Mark D with a C, and I think he kind of did that as a fun homage to Mark C, because he's been seeing him like everyone else all over the place. So he touched a lot of people, folks, and he did it in a way that no one else ever has, in my opinion. I don't mean to say that. I don't mean to make that sound like hyperbole or just, going overboard. Look, he was a human being with all the same flaws we all have. Okay. And his family knows way better than any of us do. But I'm going to tell you, I really mean it, not just from, piggybacking off what Mike said. And I've said this a couple times tonight. And I'll keep saying it because that's what floors me. Again, you and I do channels, Loki, Doomcock and Gary and Az and all the, Retro Blessing, all these people, we're on a channel. He was not a channel. He could have started one. He didn't. He was someone who chatted. And yes, and I think he went on Fat Stevens once. Other than that, I don't think he went on any other channel but mine. If he did, I'm not sure. But I don't think he did. He was only once someone who popped up on a guest host show on a friend's show. So he didn't really have the particular ambition to do a channel that I know of. I used to talk to him about it a little bit. I mean, he just said he was busy and, so he touched people, not talking to them through this YouTube or podcast, normal podcast. Not so they weren't hearing his voice. He touched them just with his mind, in a sense, and his personality and his knowledge and his good, in his good nature, his gentlemanly form, his good-natured fun, his sense of humor, his intelligence. He touched these people in a way that's as difficult to do as anything I can think of. Hello there, Jedi Bill. I've not seen you here before. Good to see you, my friend. So he touched people in a way that was is it unique? I don't know, but if you know of another chatter out there in the YouTube chats that did what he did, I know I said this earlier, it's broken record, but I'm saying it again. I think it needs to be said again. If you know of anyone, I mean, we know a lot of, by the way, we know a lot of wonderful people
We
in
do.
the chat. I want to make that clear because you have a huge fellowship over there with Valhalla.
So
and
do
I have,
you here.
I got a great one here, dude. Star Trek is rolling. So many wonderful people that I may not know personally, but I look at them like Hungry Boy and just Phantom Outsider, D-Bud, some wonderful people that I've gotten to know on YouTube, you and so many. I can't name them all, but the point is we all start out that way. They're just a name in the chat writing things. And we have so many wonderful people here. He touched all these people with just being himself, but speaking through this chat, this mechanism on YouTube that is the live streaming chat and stuff. And then obviously that got him to keep some contact through social media. Like some of these other people, he would have contact through Twitter and stuff like that. And he was very personable. And again, a busy man, yet took the time out to be a friend to a lot of people that way. That's just remarkable. Again, that never ceases to amaze me, the way he did it. Again, maybe that's just me, but I think it's pretty extraordinary. I think that's a testament to what an amazing person. And I think Gary of Nerdrotic, who is of course a great YouTuber and a really fantastic guy, said it best. I don't know. I think he coined it. I'm not sure, but he constantly referred to him not as Marxie, but as the great Marxie. And I think he meant it because he always used to compliment Mark, about his knowledge and what a cool guy was. When he needed to, if there was I can't tell you how many times I was watching Gary talk and he would forget something, or he goes, someone, and Mark C would throw it up there, boom, and put it out in the chat. And it got somewhat the point, said, I don't know that, but check with the Mark C. If Mark C here, ask him, he'll know. Everyone did that. Oh, thank you, D-Bud. That's cool. Through Gary. Well, found me through Gary. Well, thanks to Gary for that, because D-Bud's been a great friend. And I think what it taught us, how Mike said he taught Mike a whole lot about that kind of stuff. I think it taught me how cool these people can be that are in your chat, and what great people they are. Now, obviously, it's impossible to meet everybody you would like to, but you're at least meeting some extraordinary people that you wouldn't know exist without this, without this format, without this platform. People that if you bump to them at the comic shop, you probably sit and talk with them a little bit, or whatever geek venue. You know what I'm saying? Look, like there would be someone you'd have a fun conversation with, even though you didn't even know them. You bumped them into at the bookstore or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Which I do a lot. I don't know about you, but I have conversations with random people all the time and find out, wow, it's a geek, cool, and we just have fun talking. Phantom Outsider, you're getting there, buddy. Star Drive, well, oh, good, cool, you're getting there. And Raquel got to the end last night, and J-Man's almost to the end. Mark D is almost all. I'm so excited that I've got companions for my Blake 7 now. As soon as you guys get up to speed, that we can talk about it. And don't blame me if it hurts your feelings, though. Well, you do have to blame me, actually. So Loki, I guess, I think we could probably start wrapping it up, unless you have. I would like to see if you have any final words or final things to say about our dear departed buddy, Mark C. And then, of course, the chat. Anybody in the chat, if has anything they would like to say, winding down, I can't believe it's been a year. Anything you got that, I know you've said a lot already, we all have, but any maybe closing thoughts about our good friend?
Guys, like I said earlier, how we deal with death is just as important as how we deal with life. But if there's something you haven't said to someone, something you haven't done, something that you let go because of, well, you were angry at the person, you were upset at the person, or you think, well, I'll be able to do it tomorrow. What Clobby was talking about earlier, they planned so much stuff and they didn't get a chance to do it. Take that opportunity today, because you have no idea how much time you're going to have. You have no idea if tomorrow you're not going to be able to say those things to that person. Doesn't matter what happened. Doesn't matter what's in the past, because what's in the past is in the past. What you've got to think about is tomorrow and today, and take the opportunity to reach out to someone today, to talk to someone in chat like you've been talking to now, to say hello to somebody the next time you're in chat right away like Mark did. The best thing we can do for Mark, to honor Mark, is to pay forward everything he did for everyone else. That is the best possible thing we can do. And to honor him and to honor his memory is to do as much as we can to carry that forward and pass it forward for him. So if you're thinking about it, if you haven't had time to do something, if you're worried about talking to somebody, if whatever it is, just get over it and do it, because we only have a limited amount of time on this world.
Absolutely. Absolutely, man. And I had a buddy of mine that Keely Chow, Roll Tide, good to see you, friend. That happened, something like that happening with, where I kept, this is a few years back, a number of years back now, where actually a long time now, he passed in 2011, but we were very close friends. He was comics in South Louisiana. He owned the biggest shops. I'd worked for him. He helped me start my shop earlier, years before that, but he was getting older. He was having some health issues, and we would talk less and less. We lived in different cities for a while at this point, and we would talk to each other. We would call once in a while, but time grew. You just get busy. You don't mean to. You lose contact a little bit. It happens sometimes. And every now and then you'd think about him. I would think, I need to call that sumbitch. I'm going to call him a little bit later. I'm going to call him. You know how that goes. Like, I need to call so and so because I haven't talked to him in a while. Let me call that bastard. And I plan to a couple different times. And then sometimes you put it off, and you don't mean to. And then the next thing you know, you're thinking about him, and then the next thing you know, you get that call. That's happened to me. That happened to it's not the same way that it happened with Mark. That was something different. But this way, to talk about, to piggyback off what you're talking about here, is this very dear friend of mine. I hadn't talked to him in like almost a year for no particular reason. He didn't call me either, and we were best of buddies. It's just that whatever was going on in our lives, we just didn't get around to it, and it didn't used to be that way. We used to keep a lot of contact with each other. Well, one day I'm thinking I'm mad at myself. God, I need to call him. I'm really going to do it this time. And that very day, I got the call, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And he was gone. And thinking about now and combined with this one here, because it was brutal. That was as tough a funeral as I'd ever been to, as this one was here. That will always haunt me. What you're saying and what you just said there, is illustrative of that. That always will be something that I can never undo. And all I need to do was call him. I mean, I kept thinking about it, and I would just, I'll do it in a minute. I'll do it, and just didn't. There was no particular reason. And let's just see. Jack's mama says, "It's been a tough year, but God has surely held us close. I still cry, but the Lord has assured me that Steve, Marxie, is standing in his presence. Again, thank you all, and God bless you all. M. Heart M." Thank you so much for that, Jack's mama. I appreciate you. And it was just he'll always be. I know it's not much. It doesn't, and it seems silly to some, but he'll always be the name of this show, this Monday night show where we talk about comics. And I never talk about him when I don't think about him too. There's never a time when that his name is not here when we're talking about comics on a Monday night, and that makes me think about what would he say about that? What would he say about this? That's just the way it's always going to be, And I wish there was more I could say. Let's see what some of our other friends have said. I didn't. D-Bud says I didn't know Marxie after he passed, but I found out more about him by watching some old shows of Clobbies. Thank you. That's the playlist. Thank you so much, D Bud. I really appreciate you. Yeah. And yeah, it was let's see, here's oh, is that Cardinal? Cardinal Sin, you're too kind, buddy. That's very generous of you. I'm speechless. I don't know what to say, man. Thank you, Cardinal Sin, for your very kind super chat. Hail to you, Mike, and to Mark C. with the yeah, Mark C. Yeah, it's a different guy, but that's okay. Cardinal, in memoriam. Thank you so much, my friend. The Mark D with the C is still with us, by the way. It's Mark C who had passed a year ago. I don't know if you're familiar with him, Cardinal, but thank you, Cardinal. That is very generous of you. I don't know what to say, man. I don't know what to say, my friend, but just that you are very kind, sir.
Indeed.
And again, absolutely. What a man. What a guy. Very cool dude. And Gil, thank you, sir. And again, I cannot go without thanking your Muslim uncle once again for his very kind act. What he did, again, it's just, that's just phenomenal, Lucky. I mean, that is as sweet a thing as you could do for someone. And I know it came from the heart. Very nice, you know. Well, I think what we'll do here now, I mean, there's no point in running. Well, let's see. I wanted to give somebody else a couple things if they wanted to say anything first. Clobberin Times. I only interacted with Mark C for a few months, but he was one of the guys that made me feel at home. I may have never met you, Loki, or Mexican Iron Man if not for him. Thanks for doing this sketch. Thank you. Well, thanks, buddy. Thanks, buddy. Really appreciate that. That's right. I mean, so many people. That's kind of funny how that works, huh, Loki?
Oh, yeah.
I wouldn't have met so-and-so without so-and-so. I
Yep.
mean, it's always been kind of the case, right?
Pat S is so great.
Yep.
Pat S is such a great guy.
He really is. Pat S is just one of a fine gentlemen. Hello there, Author of Belamonte. Welcome to see you. Good to see you, my friend. We have some friends pouring in at the last moment here, and it's good to see them. The best way to honor a friend is to recall the good things about him or her. As long as you remember him or her, they'll never be forgotten. That is absolutely true and well said. Thank you so much for that, Oliver Belamonte. But yeah, Pat S is the man. Pat S has been, again, I'm so thankful that I moved to YouTube. I guess I'm always mad at myself for not doing it a couple of years too earlier. But the good thing is that when I did it, the circumstance I did it, I've met great friends like Paulie and you, Paulie, and Mexican Iron Man, a couple of the first people I met here. Of course, so many other wonderful people that I've met here. I mean, to name them all, it would take me forever. And the only reason I'm stopping at you three is because I would forget somebody, then I would feel horrible about it later if it got reminded to me. So I just say thank you all. Thank you all so much. And I guess I'll just close on some show notes, and then we'll let everybody get out of here. I'm working on Spinner Rack. My Spinner Rack videos should be back on track this week. I'm hopefully having one done by Wednesday. I will be back here Wildcard Wednesday night just to hang out and I don't know, do what we do best here. We'll geek out and have some fun. It could be just you and me. Sometimes I'll throw a topic. You never know. Clobby's Clubhouse Thursday night, 10 p.m. Central Standard Time. Well, 9 p.m. Sorry, 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. Of course, on Thursday night, and that'll could just be me and my first officer, but who knows? We'll see what happens. Saturday night, Star Trek, everyone, with 4 more episodes to review from season 6 of Star Trek: The Next Generation, and just big shout out to y'all. Let me shout out everybody in that chat because they've heard it tonight. They're all amazing. If you don't mind, Loki, I want to say some. So I want to say everyone's name because I like doing that when it's possible.
Of course. Absolutely, brother.
First of all, I want to shout out the family of Mark Stephen Shure, our dear departed friend. Thank you so much for your support here. and you've just been amazing. Marxie's sister, Elisa, Jack's mama, Lisa P, who was here. I know Jack. Jack may not be here tonight, but Jack pops in here sometimes. And hail to Jack. Jack, I hope you're doing well, buddy. We have, of course, the great Wrenches, the great Eric K, the great Chris Puttersha, our good buddy, as the aforementioned Mr. Pat S, my great friend Hungry Boy, D Bud, Phantom Outsider, Cal L, Alex, James, the great Steve Mitchum, buddy. Thank you so much. I'm backtracking to find everyone here. At least this thing holds them all now. Sorry, everyone. Takes a while to find them all. Cardinal Sin, again, you were too generous, sir. Thank you so much. Keely Chow, Roll Tide. Oliver Belamonte, thank you for being here. I'm trying to get everyone that I can. Not needless to say, of course, the great Mexican Iron Man. Oh yeah, Kal-El said, I didn't discover your channel until after Marxie passed, but after hearing you and your guests speak about him tonight, it's clear he was a great person. Thank you for sharing. Well, thank you for saying that. We really appreciate you. Kal-El, you've been a great friend of this show, man. And we really appreciate you. I'd like to get everybody here. Oh, we have a special guest.
We do.
We do. My goodness, folks. Mr. Doomcock. Dude, Lord Doomcock, what's up, brother?
Hey, man, I had to come on to pay respect to our dear friend Marxie. He was just a great guy, and I just wanted to come on and just help remember him a little bit, because I definitely miss the guy.
Thanks, buddy. It's great to see you here, man. We've been having got a pretty big crowd, well, for me anyway, and a lot of his family is here.
And man, that's great.
Well, yeah, we've talked a lot about that, and Mexican Iron Man had to run, but he was here talking about how Mark's influence on him, and a great, which I did not know about. I don't know if you did, but he said Mark really influenced a lot of what he does, so that begs the question. If you could tell us a little bit about what Mark meant to you, because I've mentioned it to his family, after the passing last year, which again, I can't believe it's been a year, right? After, that day that we went on, that really rough night that Mexican Iron Man went on with you. The next day, of course, I attended the funeral, and his family were there and stuff. And they know who you are, but they didn't know a lot about the Marxie persona of his life. I don't know if you knew that.
No, I did.
I'm going to step away real quick, guys. That way you two can have this conversation. D, always good to hear from you. Clobby, thank you for inviting
Thanks
me.
For being here tonight, brother.
Thank you so much. You guys have a great conversation, and I will catch you guys later.
Thanks,
you too,
bro.
D.
Be good, man. Then that's kind of the question I kind of had for you, is because I don't think you and I ever got a really chance to talk about that, but I was wondering, did you know, because that was the thing that I learned that just blew me away in the next couple of days, how the Marxie that that I know, even though I've known him in real life as well, because we from down here, I knew him as Stephen before I knew him as Marxie. His family did not know about that. We've talked about that a lot here tonight, but I was wondering, did you know that? Did you realize that his family knew nothing about the Marxie that you knew and that so many other people knew online?
No, I didn't know anything about, his family or anything. But he was, someone that, came to my live streams, and, we would talk about, comics. I mean, and soundtracks. He had a great love of soundtracks, and we would talk about those, and he would send me, well, have you heard this? And, send me things on YouTube, and soundtracks that were on YouTube. And he was just a really great guy. And, we loved Star Trek and Star Trek comics. I mean, he sent me all of the John Byrne Star Trek comics. He had a bunch of collections. Also, the Walt Simonson run on Thor.
Wow.
Yeah, because I hadn't read those either, and he just basically broadened. I hadn't read any of. I had read the John Byrne Romulan comic book, but
Yes.
not like any of his photo comics, which are really pretty damn awesome. And
Yeah.
Mark was just a really cool guy, and it just broke my heart to lose him, and Admiral O.F. Doom, and it was really hard because he was just, I don't know. We thought we had more time. We thought we had more time because the last I had heard, he got that diagnosis, but then boy, it just because we thought it was going to be a slow moving kind of thing, and there would be plenty of time for him to get treatment, and it just, it was awful.
It was a total shocker. I still haven't gotten over it, and it's just, he loved you, man. He loved your show. He went to a lot. He loved going all the YouTube channels and getting along, and meeting people. And one of the things I talked about here tonight was, the fact that aside from doing shows with me, he didn't. He could have easily had his own channel, but he didn't start a channel. People have talked to him about it, but it's funny when you think about it, how, for example, you do a show. It's, of course, it's a fantastic, great channel and show. Everyone knows it. And you have other big channels or small channels and every other type of channels there are. And so you can see how people become attached to a host of a show or something. Mark, he simply went into the chats, was friendly. Obviously, he gave super chats sometimes, or he just gave, he just made friends with so many people that I can't tell you how many people knew who he was as Marxie, the Marxie persona. And it's the number is staggering. And as I've said many times, his family did not know about that. And when they were told about it the next day at the funeral and the night before that, it was extraordinary. And to me, that says a lot about an individual who is not sitting there talking to an audience directly through a TV or through a YouTube, that he's just communicating with basic chat, and yet he touched so many lives. He truly was an extraordinary individual.
Yeah, he really was just a really loved guy, and we just had too short a time together. It was he was so knowledgeable about so many aspects of pop culture, and he really was a interesting and very kind guy. And it's just, I still think of him, and when I look at a Star Trek comic, I think of him and wish that we could talk about soundtracks again. And it's just a really sad thing that he has departed. And this is 1 year ago, huh?
Yeah, 1 year ago this past Thursday. But I wanted to do this tribute show on the night that I named after him, that will always be named after him, Monday Night Marxie Comics Talk. That's where I thought it would be best to do that. And
absolutely, yeah. I think that's a great way to do it. And he really, just like us, he was a real comic book geek, and he just knew his stuff, but he really loved soundtracks just as much as I did. And so it was a lot of fun getting to talk to him and listen to his recommendations. And it's just, we miss him. We miss him a lot.
I miss him big time. Like I said, it's funny, because we know you probably don't even know if you know this. He bought comics from me as a kid when I was, from my comic shop. But then many years I met him later, and he, like this, which has happened to me many times. He told me about that, and I was like, Really? Well, you were a kid. Obviously, I wouldn't remember you, but I mean, so we knew each other from that, and then we became friends, and eventually started doing shows together. Our first one was to argue about John Byrne's Superman. I don't like it. He does. So for years we were bumping into each other at the comic shop, and he knew I had the show going on for all those years. And I said, "Yeah, come on sometime. We'll argue about that." And we'll just bum each other. I told this earlier, but I don't think I've ever told you this. And finally, when I moved to YouTube, he came on my second show, and we did that. Then we just started doing shows together. And you know what? I was saying earlier, we only did 12 shows together when I looked at it. Like, it felt like we did 20 or 30. And we had so much fun, mostly comics, but there was some other stuff too. Like he wanted to do a show about bad movies that we love, like guilty pleasure movies. And I couldn't think of that many, but he had a ton of them, right? So I said, let's do it. What the hell, man? Let's do it. Because you want to do it. Let's do it. We did it. And he had a blast doing it. And he was not someone that really wanted to channel that much. He just hung out with me on mine. And he was, it's just that Thor run that you got, that Simonson run, that was in our plan. So I do a classic comics review now. That was the plan he and I had, where we're going to review. We'd already reviewed The Coming of Galactus by Kirby and Lee, and Justice by Alex Ross. We were going to do some other. We had all these others in the pipe to do, and that was the next one he wanted to do, was Thor Simonson run. So, because he loved it, and I'm so glad that he sent that to you. But that kept me from doing comics reviews for about a year, because I couldn't bring myself to do one until I just started back, because it just didn't feel right somehow.
Right. Yeah, I can totally understand that. What a shame. He was a really great guy. He really knew a lot of stuff, and it's just like a real supportive and just a great friend. And it's just sad that he's not here with us anymore, but I'm glad that you have this ongoing tribute to him, keeping that memory alive, just like someone out there is keeping Admiral O.F. Doom's, Oliver Franklin Doom's memory alive too on Twitter by they still tweet out his amazing observations.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think I've seen that. Yes. Oh,
yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, which is nice. I mean, it's just nice that, ghost in the machine, so to speak,
Yeah.
it's just so hard. That's one of the really hard things about being a YouTuber, is that you meet so many wonderful people, but then you also encounter a lot of loss, because the more people you obviously the greater your chances are of losing some of them. It's just the odds, and so it's a very tough thing that great people like Mark, you kind of experience their trials and tribulations too, and their bad news and their good news, and it's just you don't really get as much of that in a normal life with just knowing a small core of people, and so it can be rough, and this was definitely a rough patch, a shock, that to lose him so very, very quickly.
It absolutely wasn't. Look, he says, Mark would love to have heard you two talking like this. Well, he would have, but he wouldn't want to hear me. He loved Doomcock. He was a big fan. You got him through so many. He, as you know, he drove a lot, commuted real long commutes across the country in his day job and his job. And he would just turn you on there and listen to you on those long trips from way up to from Pennsylvania down to Louisiana that he would make. And you got him through many a trip there. I mean, he loved all kind of different channels as well, but you were his man there. You were his favorite, and dude, you were very special to him.
Well, I'm very honored to know that. I didn't know that I was, his favorite or anything. I just knew him as a friend, and it's just really so hard. It's just really hard, because you get to know folks, and then things come between you, and it's just it's that's the hardest part of YouTube. It's not the algorithm, and it's not making videos and stuff. It's meeting people and then losing people
Yes.
for whatever reason, and that's just a heartbreak that you just have to live with, you know.
It is, man. It is. But I tell you, one thing I learned in the following weeks from that were how many people knew him, as Marxie. I mean, I knew him as Steven for years. I mean, I know the Marxie
Yeah.
for years. And I think I told the story earlier how I was doing a show last summer with my retro blasting friends, Michael French and I. We were counting down the Marvel MCU movies, and I had like 10 times the audience I usually have because it's retro blasting. But Michael and I, and there was a young lady that comes into the chat. She's angry with me for calling the show Monday Night Marxie Comics Talk. How dare you use my dear friend's name for that show? And I tried to explain it to her that I know he's a friend of mine. We do shows together, and people in the chat explained it to her. We find out it's not like this is some friend of his that she only knows him from chats, but she felt that protective of him that she thought someone was using his name. And of course, we all explained to him, and she was fine after that. But it's just a weird thing. So many people have will tell you or telling me after this happened that Marxie, no, not Marxie. I mean, he was so well known to so many people because he did go to a lot of channels, not just not just yours or not just on mine. He went to a lot of them, and he was so well known and well loved. It's just he touched a lot of people in a way that I can't even begin to explain because he didn't do a show except with me once in a while.
Yeah, well, I mean, a lot of people can make a big impact just by being around, like my friend Casey Osowski, who we haven't heard from in a while, so I'm pretty worried about him and trying to figure out what's going on with him. And it's it's so hard. It's so hard to keep track of all of these wonderful folks that come into your life, and you can only do so much, but it's very emotional. It's very, very difficult.
It really is, man. It really is. And I cannot tell you how much it means to me to have you here to say a few words about him. And I know he would have just loved it. Because again, he loved you, man. And he just, he would be very honored. And I know his family is. His family appreciates you coming and saying a few words about him because it was special to him, buddy. Marxie and Steven, because he's both guys. But like I said, he was a fan of Superman, and it was almost like he was a Clark Kent and Superman identities because his family didn't even know about the Marxie thing.
Well, that's the kind of guy he was. Well, you know what better way to kind of echo your lifelong love of comics than to have a secret identity of your own. I never thought growing up reading Fantastic Four and Batman that I would grow up to be a supervillain myself. I never would. I wish I could go back in time and tell that lonely kid on the reading comics on the playground. Don't worry, one day you'll grow up to be the future ruler of Earth.
You were reading Supervillain Team Up, weren't you?
Oh, all of it. Marvel Team Up, Marvel 2-in-1. I mean, if I could get my hands on it, I was reading it. Fantastic Four is the greatest of all of them, of course.
Yep. World's greatest comic magazine. Didn't say that for nothing.
Yeah, well, it did, because Stan Lee was a hopeless racketeer, hypester and huckster, but he grew into it. He grew into it because it really was the greatest. I mean, that was the ground zero of the entire Marvel universe. So many characters, got introduced there. Yeah,
absolutely. And Mark loved it. Of course, his favorite artist was John Byrne, and he and I wish to go round and round about that. I like Byrne, don't get me wrong, but I have some issues with him. I think, but Mark was probably the second biggest John Byrne fan who ever lived, this after John Byrne himself, of course, being number one. And I used to tell him that all the time, Mark, all the time. But he loved him. He loved his work, and I've loved a lot of his work as well. So I thought I'd put some of that Byrne art up there for him. And again, his Star Trek, though, I liked a lot of that. I thought it was pretty good.
He did well. He did actually pretty decent stories. Mostly when I read a Star Trek story, it just doesn't play. A lot of times in comics and stuff, they're just like, Yes. But his really seemed like, I think he could have worked on the staff. I mean, I think if Roddenberry had shaped his material, or DC Fontana, worked it on a little bit, I think he would have been a great Star Trek writer.
He did do a lot of, I would say he could write it. And it's funny how Mr. Revisionist, John Byrne, which he did some revisions on Superman and FF, I didn't like much. He hated the Jar Jar Abrams stuff almost as much as I do, because no one can hate as much as I do, but he hated that stuff. And he made Trek, he wrote Trek accordingly. I mean, look, when he did Star Trek Crew, he made it just look like the real deal from the pre-Pike era. And he just, he was slavish to that look and everything. So
yeah,
he loved his Trek. Someone asked, do you have any Fantastic Four comics? Old ones?
Do I?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I used to have more, unfortunately, some bad stuff, but I do have, I have all of them on a DVD.
Yeah, me too.
That DVD collection, but I do have a ton of Fantastic Four comic books. I also have the two hardbound, Fantastic Four collections. Number one,
Masterworks.
Number 49. Yeah, the Masterworks. I've got the two volumes of those. They're hard to read. You get an exercise just fucking lifting the comic and reading them, because they're weighs a fucking ton. So I still haven't figured out a great way to read them. I have them, but it's incredible, and I think I will side with Marxie tonight with Steven and say I do think that John Byrne was a pretty amazing comic book creator. I think his Superman was actually pretty good. It was interesting to me. I'll never forget how does Superman shave? Well, he uses his own heat vision in a mirror to burn the whiskers off his face, because that's the only way that they can be,
Right. Byrne took that from a Golden Age comic, though.
Oh, he did. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
I didn't know that. I'm not like I mean, I've read a lot of Superman in terms of I've got like 8 volumes of the Golden Age reprint Superman stuff, which I've really loved. I love that old Superman.
Oh yeah.
I love the old Batman too, the real original Batman, before pre-Robin. That grim Avenger of the Night dealing with mad scientists and even some vampires, and he's packing some heat. He's got the purple gloves. I mean, that is my favorite Batman.
Some of those were before he even had an origin. Actually, a lot of people don't realize what it was. So
yes, he was engaged to a woman named Julie
Madison. Well done.
Yeah,
Madison. That's right. Well done. Yes, from Batman #1. And actually, she first appeared. I think.
Oh, really? No, I thought it. Really? I thought no. She did first. Didn't she first appear detective like 30 or something? It was with the red hooded guy where she was hypnotized and.
Could be
like the one with the castle. The one with the castle, and he's like looming in the foreground. I can't remember the number of that, but I remember her distinctly in that. And she was menaced and she was hypnotized and.
You're right. I was thinking Catwoman was in issue #1 first. That was her first appearance. But no, Julie was before that. Well done. Well done, sir. Well done. Well done indeed, sir.
I am a genuine geek, and I love the comics. I loved his. I thought his Fantastic Four was quite good. I mean, God knows the Fantastic Four has, been morphed a lot over the years, and so I mean, it's minor variations. I think largely he did a good job. I mean, he had that Herbie robot, and I mean, yeah, I mean, there were some things. Obviously, there's some things you don't like,
No,
but
I liked his first 2 years on FF. I think later he got kind of stale and he started really, in my opinion, his art. He should have never been allowed to ink himself either. That's just an art thing there. But I liked his first, Mad Monk story. Well done, JD Lewis. I got all the comic info you're ever going to want in this chat right here. I can tell you that much.
yeah, right, exactly. The Mad Monk, the one with the red hood and he a red robe, and he was in the castle. I love that. That's one of my favorite ones. I really love that. Really dark, grim, Batman, and the very foppish Bruce Wayne. It's just pure, pure Batman.
Love those old Golden Age stuff. And yeah, like someone saying in the chat, I love omnibuses too, but man, they'll give you a hernia packing those suckers around.
Oh, I know.
Freaking omnibus.
But it's helped me to prepare myself to read giant manga collections like the Berserk stuff. So it's
that's right. Yeah, I've heard about that. That's a tackling right there, dude. Man.
It is. I'm in the third of 9 volumes, so I'm tearing through it. It's really quite good. But you've inspired me. I think I need to go reread. That's the problem, is I've got all these discs. I've got the entire run of Fantastic Four and Silver Surfer. Nice. On the disc, I've got the Spider-Man disc, I've got the Avengers disc, I've got the Hulk disc, which is really nice because it also has all the Prince Namor Submariner in the Tales. Yes, which I always loved. I loved those as a kid. I mean, I love reading the Hulk and the High Evolutionary, which I thought was one of the coolest Hulk stories, and then you'd turn and there would be Namor and fighting against Krang and
that stuff.
It was those, man, those were amazing. And I have also, what have I don't think I have Iron Man. Yeah, I've got Iron Man.
They did discs of a lot of them, and then they stopped doing them because they thought, maybe we shouldn't do these. Some of those discs are hilarious because the scans are like from some really comics that are in really bad shape, but it's kind of funny to see them that way. Like, and the ads and everything.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
It's hilarious.
I'm like I'm like some kind of pervert or something, because I'll like read the comics on the computer, and then I've got to have a old comic beside me, and I can hold it up to my nose and smell it periodically.
Yes,
to get the old comic.
You got to have the smell of the old comic. And see, the thing is, I love because when my eyesight's failing because I'm so old, I do like blowing them up on the big screen or the computer, or like casting it from my phone to the big TV to watch those beautiful comic book pages on the panel. But still, buy the physicals if you can. Easier said than done with the expensive stuff, of course. But
yeah. But I do have some old Spider-Mans. I have a pretty tattered copy of Spider-Man 3.
Wow, Debo, that sounds like you. What is that issue you had that's so tattered you showed us the other night? Man, it's like, I mean, is it like in pieces, Duca, or is it just
not quite in pieces, but it's pretty tattered. But I do have really good, clean copies of Spider-Man 6 and 7.
Oh, wow. We were just reviewing those the other night on Nick's channel. Damn, cool stuff.
Yep, first appearance of the Lizard and second appearance of the Vulture.
Yeah, we were just reviewing those, right? Every Friday night, or whatever night we're doing. I forgot what nights now. Review those. They do it on their channel over there. Nice.
Yeah, it's great stuff.
Yeah, well, you're in the Ditko run now, and then which is blessed.
Well, Ditko was amazing.
Yeah. I was reading some of those the other day, and they had one issue that that brain character, and they couldn't fill the whole issue up. It was issue number 8. I don't know if you've seen that one. And then they had like 7 pages to fill, so it was just so ridiculous. They just filled it with. They had Jack Kirby and Steve Ditko do it. Ditko inking Kirby, and they didn't have a story, so they just had Spider-Man start a fight with the Human Torch by trying to steal his girl. Just like,
Oh yeah.
Whatever. It's hilarious. Yeah. Like nothing happens, and then he tries to. Spider-Man acts like a jerk to steal the Torch's girl. It's like, oh god, so much fun.
Well, he was jealous of Johnny Storm being a hot shot, and handsome young guy, and he's out in the public and can get girls, and here's poor Peter Parker being a masked, feared, reviled, vilified superhero by J. Jonah Jameson, that prick.
Yes, he did. But that became one of the great friendships of all time. My favorite one of all, Torch and Spider-Man.
Yeah,
I love that friendship.
It was, and actually lately I've dug out some old run. Well, not that old. That Jonathan Epting run of FF, which was where they switched to the white costumes because Johnny Storm was allegedly dead, and then in Fantastic Four number 600, and then on it was Fantastic Four 600, Johnny Storm was revealed to have survived in the negative zone, with the Nihilus. So that was cool. It was a pretty good run. Not bad,
I wasn't big on those white outfits personally, but
not me either. But it was intelligently written, and the illustrations were quite beautiful. I thought it was interesting.
People think I hate Byrne because I'm critical of him, but in the Comic Relief Crusader, I agree with this. He says Clobby doesn't like Byrne, but I want him to finish the last Galactic story. We all want him to finish it. He never will, though. So I don't know if you remember that in Epic Magazine where he was doing the last Galactus story.
No,
and I don't know if it's been compiled because he didn't create it. I mean, he didn't finish it, and it went several issues. I can't remember how many off the top of my head. Again, the last Galactus story. It was really good, and then boom, he just dumped. Never going to get an ending of it. So,
well, I guess Galactus destroyed the universe. That was the end. That's why it was the last one. There's it's just like without warning.
Exactly.
Just like we lost Marxie, pretty much. Galactus opted to strike while the iron is hot between issues, and there was no more, which is sad.
Who are you, mortal, to decide my last story? I am Galactus. I am the universe, or whatever.
That's right. Ultimate nullifier notwithstanding.
Yes, I created the ultimate nullifier, and
he just had it in his collection. It's just like, damn.
They could kill me, and well, what the hell? No one can ever get this. Oops.
You should have had it locked up or something.
Yeah, well, I believe Harvey Cthulhu is trying to find it personally. I think you need to watch that because he might find that thing.
Yeah, he would maybe. Yeah, if he had it, he could probably nullify the containment field. But unfortunately, he doesn't. There is no. Unlike Harvey Cthulhu, Galactus is fictional, so we're lucky.
I want to believe that they're real. I don't know why, I just do. But I tell you who is real, and that's you, buddy, for coming here tonight to hang out with us a little bit and say some nice things about our good, dear departed buddy. I cannot thank you enough, man. I really can't.
You're very welcome, and I hope we will keep him in our memories. God bless you, Mark, as you're looking down on us and hopefully smiling. We haven't forgotten you, nor have we forgotten Admiral O.F. Doom. To me, I mean, we lost them in quick succession, which was just awful. Just awful.
Absent friends.
Yeah, absolutely, to absent friends. Yes.
Marxie, buddy, if you're hearing us out there, wherever you are, just, I would steal the Enterprise and go to the Genesis planet for you anytime, bro.
Absolutely. We miss you, man. And to his family, we're sorry for your loss, but I'm at least you know that he is missed and loved by lots of other folks too.
And he made a great impact. And so, everyone, thank you all for being here with us tonight. We'll end it without the credits, just in silence here. Thanks, of course, to the great Stone Loki and the great Mexican Iron Man for joining us. Really appreciate you guys. It means a lot to me. You guys are extraordinary. Everyone else out there, my dear friends, I'll be back here Wednesday night to hang out with you. All hail my fantastic friend who's been so good to me, way good, better than I ever deserved, the great Lord Doomcock. Buddy, thank you for being here tonight. I cannot tell you what it means to me, man. Thank you so much.
You're really welcome. Thank you for inviting me, and thank you for remembering Mark, because memorable guy.
Absolutely. Good night, everybody. We will
Good night,
leave
all.
in a silence that will to say goodbye to our